going on, everybody? It's Evil Eddie from Pure Evil MMA, RunProofMedia.com, and it is Wednesday night, New York City. We have arrived. Up above me, like always, is the infamous Ted Check. What's going on, Ted?
Hey, Eddie, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, brother.
Cool.
How about yourself?
Good. Yeah, your levels are a little bit weird, or your mic is like kind of.
How about now?
Huh?
How about now?
It's good. It's good.
All right, cool. I'm
Can you hear
fixing
me
the video for everybody right now.
All right, man. Yeah. So, oh my God, it's here. UFC 205. Can you believe it?
I cannot believe it.
UFC NYC MSG. Here we go. Oh man. Yeah, like you were.
Oops, sorry, Ted. I just
No,
wanted to give our formal introduction really quick in case we got any new listeners out there. You're listening to Evil Intoxicated, episode number 21, right, Ted? Are we at episode number 21 now?
21. You got it, man. You got it.
And we do this every Wednesday night, guys, so make sure you subscribe down below. Check Ted's page out. Ted's always doing weekly news updates and everything for everybody. What we're going to do today, since it's a special event, I told Ted, it feels like Christmas, man. I don't know about you guys, but I'm so excited. Maybe it's just because I'm so close to New York. But honestly, man, I'm like super excited about this, not knowing what the outcome is going to be. Conor McGregor could be the first person ever to hold two belts, and for that to happen, especially at UFC 205 at MSG, that would be huge. But he has a nightmare in front of him, Eddie Alvarez. We're going to be getting into that a little later. Me and Ted discussed about discussing the whole card. So, Ted, why don't you tell everybody what we're going to do between the prelims and then what we're going to do with the main card.
Oh yeah, well I mean we've got some other MMA news, some of it 205 related, but yeah, there's always stuff going on in MMA, so we're gonna go quickly into that. Let's get that out of the way, and then we'll delve into the card deeply. We're gonna go fight by fight.
Starting with deep. It's gonna get deep.
Yeah, start at the bottom and go all the way to the top.
Fight the way up.
Yep. So yeah, we're gonna go all the way up to the top, fight by fight. So yeah, let's. Oh, I gotta tell you, you're not gonna believe this, man. I had a dream a couple of nights ago that I met Ronda Rousey.
Oh God.
And I bet you can guess how this ended.
Wait. First off, did you tell your wife this dream?
No. She doesn't know. But that's okay. That's okay because she knows I would be fine around her. I would
exclusive.
She knows that I wouldn't make a move on Ronda. You know what I'm saying? Like she's not my type. Let's just put it that way. So anyway,
that's not my type.
Not my type. So anyway, so I don't know where I was. We were together, like not together, but I was somewhere where she was. Right? She was already there. I arrived to like maybe drop something off or whatever. And so she comes up to me, she gets me in the Muay Thai clinch and gives me 3 knees to the side. I'm not kidding. Bang, bang, bang.
That's for that 4-minute video. One for every minute you talk trash.
There you go. This is for that first video. This is for the second video. This is for the third video. Bang. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, she got me 3 times in the side. I didn't fall down, but I felt it.
I'm glad that you addressed that.
Yeah,
Did you actually feel it in your dream?
No, I mean not physically, but I mean, I know that she struck me in my dream, so I'm not gonna press charges. She struck me in my dream, but I didn't fall down.
Well, Andrea says that she has dreams all the time about killing people, especially this one girl. I'm not gonna mention her name in case there's anyone local listening, but she says that she can feel herself literally killing, like when you stab somebody, you know how it like kind of pops, like if you stab something through skin, it pops.
Yeah, sure. I know that feeling.
Well, if you like pierce your ear, and you know what?
Yeah, I mean? No, I know what you're saying, man.
So it's just crazy. I've always been interested about lucid dreams and stuff like that, and one of the best things about dreaming, just to touch on this subject really quick, is when you lose somebody and you have a dream about them, you literally look right into their eyes again. And I think that if you can dream that, I think that is so special.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was just reading a comment that Ann was saying, Ronda was probably mad at me for my impression of her.
No.
Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
I'm going to fight. She furrows her brows and everything. She's like
In case
totally
anybody
different
missed
person.
that was a couple episodes ago. That was on point. In case anybody doesn't know, last night's election, we had a new president come into power. And I don't want to talk about politics too much, but the posts that the UFC fighters were posting online were hilarious, especially Derek Lewis. I'm not going to give it away, but anyone that wants to check it out, please check out Derek Lewis's his tweet. It has something to do with Donald Trump and Conor McGregor. It's great.
Well, I don't know what he said. Two things. I don't know what Derek Lewis said. I'll have to check it out. But two things just to kind of put it in context. Number one, Dana White is a close friend of Donald Trump's. Mm-hmm. Dana White spoke at the RNC, the Republican National Convention.
Yeah.
When Trump was announced as the nominee for the party. That's number one. Number two, Derek Lewis. Maybe it was after Trump got the nomination. He put out an Instagram where it was at a post-fight presser. He said, "Vote for Trump," and then people were like, "Oh yeah, he's just kidding, and he said, "No, I'm serious." So I don't know what he tweeted. What was it all about that you're talking about? But he claimed that he was just a Trump supporter. Now I don't know. Maybe he changed his mind in between. But I just remember that Instagram. Vote for Trump. Vote for Donald Trump.
He has some of the best stuff that he posts. Ariel actually asked him, do you post that? He was like, no, Adam Sandler does. What? He actually owns his own beauty salon, believe it or not. One of my favorite fighters to follow because his story is so interesting, man. He's all about them women, too.
Hey, I mean, yeah, that's it's probably a good business. I mean, locations, everything. But, I would imagine that's a good business because what woman doesn't like to get all fixed up? And I got to get the hair done.
Yeah, well, moving on from politics because we all lost enough followers, talking about it this week. So let's get right into the quick MMA news recap of the week, the top MMA headlines of this week. Ted, you want to start that off for everybody?
Right. Your favorite fighter, me not so much.
My boy.
John Jones. Your boy, not mine. John Jones. Two headlines, related, of course, but two headlines. The first one was that USADA, USADA handed down, I don't know if it was actually a hearing per se, but they handed down a judgment. They said, John Jones, you're suspended for a year. You're suspended for a year, retroactive to June 6th, which I believe is when it was discovered that he had this, tainted, or that he, that he tested positive for a banned substance.
Yeah.
What it was determined was that it was a, how should we put it? A dick pill.
It was Viagra, right? Wasn't it a...
Or Cialis or something like that. But it was tainted in some way. And so basically what USADA was saying is that, okay, you're taking something that normally you'd be okay in taking. However, it was tainted, but you know what? It's your body, as I always say. It's your body, ain't nobody else's body, so you got to know what you put in it. You're a fighter, you got to know what you put in it. And so there you go. That's why they gave him that 1-year suspension. And then the second thing related to that was that Dana White and the UFC, they said, well, since you're suspended, you can't defend
your interim title.
You can't defend the interim belt. You can't challenge for the title. So we're going to strip you of the interim belt.
Well, two things, Ted. One, it was originally supposed to be 2 years, correct? It was supposed to be 2 years suspension. That got cut in half. So the time served since it was announced, does that go into it? So has he already served most of that suspension?
Well, take it from June, right? So
yeah,
June,
so
July,
April.
August, September, October. Here we are, early November. So what's that? 5 months.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. That's right. UFC 200 was July. That's correct. I forgot about that.
Well, yeah. They put it retroactive from June.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, he's already served. You could say, well, close to half the time. Right. I mean, he could have. I guess he could have faced up to 2 years, but this was kind of a compromise, if you will, or if it had been a criminal thing, you could say it was like a plea. You got a plea agreement, if you will. But yeah, it could have been worse. Let's put it that way.
I mean,
but he's. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, finish what you're saying.
It's because I was gonna say he still has the Nevada State Athletic Commission. He's got to go before them. I think it's this week, if I'm not mistaken. It might even be tomorrow. He's got to go before them, so they could issue a second suspension, and maybe even a fine or something like that. Now, that what they could do is they could say, well, we're going to run it concurrent with your existing suspension, so it could run at the same time. In other words, he doesn't serve one suspension, then the next one starts. That would be consecutive. They could say, oh, we're going to run it concurrently, so it'll be at the same time. We don't know. We just don't know what's in store for him. So we'll just have to see. And this one, I think, is a hearing, so he's going to actually have to sit in front of these people, and maybe there'll be some tears. I don't know. Like before at that press conference.
That's my boy. Yo, back off. That's my boy.
I'm sorry.
So the thing I wanted to mention, first off, I know that I said before, oh, it's the interim belt. He probably doesn't care that much. There is an extent where he does have to care about this a little bit. We did see him cry at that presser. I mean, this is affecting him. Will this be the last straw, though? The UFC's given him such a break, more than they've given Vitor Belfort breaks. I mean, come on. I think that he cannot screw up anymore. This is the last straw. Of course, you don't want to lose your biggest star. John Bones found a loophole, Ted, and correct me if I'm wrong, but he's going to be in a grappling match very soon with the retired Dan Henderson. Me and you spoke about this on Pure Evil MMA episode number 24, which will be posted up by Sunrise. But that's right? His upcoming grappling match with Dan Henderson.
We heard that, yeah. I haven't read too much more on that, but I just thought of a couple things. First of all, John Jones is 29 years old. I made this point in one of my videos this week. What's a 29-year-old guy need with dick pills? Say honestly, 29 years old. He's not even 30 yet. What does he need with dick pills? I mean, is he looking for more performance in the bedroom? Is he looking to make things longer in some way? What is going on that he needs this? And also, there's people were speculating out there, and I'll say this is speculation. People who abuse steroids, when you do that brings down your natural testosterone level. So people are saying, well, if he indulged in certain illegal substances, he brought down his natural testosterone, and therefore would have to compensate by taking these pills to bring those levels back up. A regular 29-year-old guy wouldn't be screwing with dick pills. He wouldn't need it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know. And like I said, pure speculation at this point. He's never popped for an actual steroid.
Well, when news like this comes out, you got to explore every corner of the room. You know what I mean? So can't be mad that we want to know.
Yeah, and the other thing, the last thing was Dana White was quoted as saying that John Jones is his own worst enemy. He said the greatest talent and the worst screw up ever. So yeah, it's like that ratio, talent to screw up, and he's got the highest ratio of that. You could argue whether he is the greatest fighter of all time, but probably when you look at the amount of talent and the amount of screw ups he's got the market cornered there. And I think he's his own worst enemy. Aside from Alexander Gustafsson, he's his greatest opponent. And it kind of reminds me. I did a video today. I said it reminds me of Lawrence Taylor. Lawrence Taylor, the great pass rusher from the New York Giants. He revolutionized the position of pass rushing. Was just such an amazing talent, and was a cokehead, and destroyed himself. That way. There was nobody that could stop him on the field. He did it to himself, unfortunately. So we'll just have to see. We'll just have to see how this hearing goes. I know you really like John Jones, so
no, I do. It's just so frustrating, man, because I want to see him perform. He had that fight with OSP. Wasn't one of his best performances, even though he won every single round. So I was excited for him to come back in that UFC 200. Me and you did our live reactions for that. We were doing the show, and it came about. Somebody broke the news to us, and we were like, "Oh my!" Who broke the news to us that night? Was it Minion, right?
It may have been. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if I can't remember now. It's a little hazy, but it probably was. It sounds like, and Minion's good with that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
But
Minion's on point. He did a great special for me this week on Pure Evil MMA podcast. I can't wait to show everybody. It's gonna get you freaking hyped, dude. Like, this is a party podcast episode. And you're on it too, Ted. You're one of the stars on it as well.
Oh, awesome, man. That's right. So I gotta ask you about Minion, though. Now he's very talented in the realm of graphics and things like that. But does he? But he also is a guest on your show, right?
He does segments every week. He doesn't come on like how me and you were talking. He does a pre-recorded segment. With music in the background, and it's like a hype up. Like when I do special interviews, he'll do like a special intro warm up to it that gets people fired up, and then he'll review cards, like upcoming cards, like this UFC 205 card. He gives like a brief history for everybody who doesn't know the whole story. You know what I mean? Kind of. It's perfect. It's perfect for Pure Evil MMA, especially his name, Minion. You know what I mean? It's perfect.
Yeah. And
we love his accent. You gotta love Minion's accent.
Yeah, and no, that's what I was going to say is that everything is it is more authoritative when you've got an English accent. I don't know why that is, but somebody just sounds like they know what they're talking about. More so when they have an English accent. What is that?
I don't know. I think it's all that James Bond we watched over here in the
Yeah,
States.
it's like you hear a guy and they say something, and he could be saying, I'm eating a cheeseburger. But you're like, that guy knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
He's really got it together, man.
Oh, one quick thing I want to just throw under the rug really quick, Ted, for all of our listeners that were looking forward to Friday. We're not going to be doing the MMA Advocate show this weekend. A couple of the people are a little busy, so we're going to have to push that back to a later date, or whatever happens with that happens. But we will not be going on the MMA Advocates Friday. I just wanted to alert all of our listeners out there that... So me and Ted are going to break the entire card down for you right here, right now, so you don't even got to wait. So how about that?
That's right. Here we
how
go.
About that?
Well, not here we go. We have some other news.
Yeah. I mean, within the hour.
Here we go.
Dude, I'm like a little kid waiting at the top of the stairs.
Is it ready? Is it Christmas yet? Is it Christmas yet? So anyway, moving on. Tony Ferguson, El Cucuy.
The number one.
Is now the new number one contender for the lightweight title. He leapfrogged or was moved over Khabib Nurmagomedov, who was the longtime number one contender. And I think most people are okay with this. I think most people not okay, more than okay. I think they agree with it. The guy certainly is a worker. 9-0 in the UFC, or a nine fight win streak. 9-fight win streak, and it's been working his ass off, and so he deserves this for what it's worth, though, because we know that the UFC doesn't always go by those rankings. I mean, they took the time to set those things up. They solicited MMA media people to contribute to those every month or every week or whatever, however often they do them, right?
Yep.
And then at times they just totally blow them off.
Well, we see a lot this day and age, Ted, that they don't really go by the rankings that much. You really got to have the talk behind it. And Tony Ferguson didn't promote himself at all as a number one contender. You got this weekend's event. Like, you could have set up a perfect storyline, perfect promo. You know what I mean? You needed that clip. And he said that he doesn't care. I think me and you talked about it. There's no way that he doesn't care.
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Conor, and it's a big IF, but if he beats Eddie Alvarez and he's got the 145 title here and the 155 title here, you could bring Tony Ferguson right up into the cage right after that and get him right up in his face and be like, okay, Conor, no rest for you. Here's your next opponent.
Yeah, I mean, they have to push that way further down the road. There's so much lined up for Conor McGregor's story, legacy, and everything that he just didn't market it right. We saw in the past with Nate Diaz, all you got to do is get the perfect promo cut, and you can put your name right into the ballot,
Right, and for some people, it comes easily. Like Nate Diaz, he just he was fired up, and he knows what to say at the right time. Sometimes he's mellow, sometimes he's agitated, and so he had just fought, so there's all that adrenaline going. But somebody maybe like Tony Ferguson is so chill and nonchalant and humble that he doesn't kind of have that in him. He doesn't have that type of personality where he's going to cut a promo. I mean, that's like kind of like being a pro wrestler. He's like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. I'm going to tear you limb from limb and I'm going to rip your head off and shit down your neck. All that stuff. That's like a pro wrestler, and some people just don't have it in them.
We've seen Tony do it before in the past. Like, remember the perfect promo, the real El Cucuy. Remember that one? You know what I mean? He's done it before in the past. You just beat RDA, who you were looking at for a while as the champion. Mean, not a while. I mean, he only had two fights as champion. And,
but he's the former champion, so I mean that's significant.
I mean, it's RDA. I mean, come on. It's just the perfect person that you got to beat. I was happier that he beat RDA over than if he beat Khabib. I mean, I think that was perfect to get him in the number one contender spot. And he just didn't open his mouth about it. And, you got to do that nowadays.
So here's the deal.
Here's the deal.
Here's the deal, and it relates to 205. So Tony Ferguson is the new number one contender, but Khabib is fighting on the card, right? He's fighting Michael Johnson. If Khabib beats Michael Johnson, what do they do then? And beats him convincingly. Say he finishes him. Say it's not just a lay and pray. Say it's not just a wrestle F, as some people like to say. Say he actually beats him convincingly, maybe even finishes him. What then? Do you have Khabib and Tony fight each other to determine the number one contender? Or if Conor wins and then his surprise announcement is that he's taking time off, do you have those two guys? You have Khabib and Tony fight for the interim belt?
That could very well happen.
Here's
my thing, man. That is part of both those guys' storyline. They got to fight one another at some point, and it would be perfect if it was for that spot, especially if Khabib wins in a dominating fashion. We just saw Michael Johnson. Ted, you hung up. We lost Ted, guys. Let's try to get him back on the line. But I'm trying to say, Khabib just almost lost to Daryl Horcher. I mean, Ted, I was just telling everybody that, Khabib's last fight before this, he almost lost to Daryl Horcher. And I know that Daryl Horcher is... he's a great fighter, whatnot, but honestly, he has to win this in a dominating fashion if he wants to get that fight next with Tony, because I think beating RDA solidifies him as the number one contender. I mean, a lot of people out there might say, well, Ed, he's undefeated. He's not on a 9-fight win streak. He's never lost before in his life. So there's that. But it all comes down to this Saturday night.
Right. Yeah, we'll just have to see. The other thing is that the rumor, well, it was a couple of things. One of the rumors is that Floyd Mayweather might be sitting in the front row at UFC 205.
Standing up looking into the cage like Conor, right? Standing up looking into the cage blocking everyone's view.
Well,
which he's not that tall, so it won't be much of a distraction.
Well, I know, but he'll have a bunch of 6'8" former NFL linemen standing around him who will block everyone's view.
Yeah, and those P. Diddy's crew.
Those seats that are right down there are like $50,000 each. I was reading, so which is nothing. Floyd Mayweather blows his nose with that, but that's the rumors that he's going to be there, and that's going to set up the fight between Conor and Floyd. Maybe that's the special announcement, huh? I mean, now Conor was never able to make that deal with the Fertittas and Dana White in charge. But now that you have WMEIMG, and these guys are entertainers, they represent actors, they represent pro athletes, you'd think they'd want to make this fight.
Listen, they were talking about this so much. Colin Cowherd even admitted that it sounded like he knew something. A lot of people, Joe Rogan, all sounded like they knew something about this fight, and then it just went real quiet real quick. And we remember that Floyd Mayweather challenged Conor McGregor for New Year's Eve $100 million. I would love to see that happen, but then again, Ted, that would be perfect. If Floyd Mayweather was in the front row, that's the first thing I was thinking about. I'm so happy that you thought of that. That's a good one, but Angie Jabs didn't know about Conor McGregor's big news, big surprise, or rumors about Dee Devlin being pregnant. She follows her on Instagram. She goes, Babe, is D definitely getting fat? Look at this picture. Gives me the picture of it, and then we look back like a month back at how skinny she was. I posted the picture up on my Twitter account if you guys want to check it out at evil_echo and at pure evil MMA. But Ted, within a month and a half, 2 months, man, she blew up like a balloon. There's a picture of her right there, man. She got pretty chubby. I really think that might be it.
Yeah, I was watching. Do you watch the Mac Life, his Connor's documentary series?
Well, I don't follow it all the time, but I know about it and I've seen it when it first started.
Yeah. So he's got his own crew. This is separate from the UFC. You know, the way they do their embedded series. He's got his own camera crew that follows him around everywhere, and he's got a website and he's got a YouTube channel. It's called the Mac Life. And so I was watching one of those, a recent one. I forget where he was. But I think he went to the Facebook offices or something like that, and she was accompanying him. She was with him, and she was wearing very how should we put
baggy clothes?
Baggy, voluminous clothing. She was like not like a muumuu or a tent, but she was wearing baggy clothing. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Eddie. Baggy clothing. That's what women wear when they're.
Looks like Connor mugged a giant and gave her clothes.
She could be kind of hiding a baby bump there, So that was I think it's kind of all kind of fitting into place here, but sorry.
Man, this is so exciting, Ted. I'm like, whatever the big news is, it's going to be exciting to hear, especially if he wins, win or lose here. I mean. He really doesn't have much to lose here, but he has a lot to gain, man, because if he can get that belt, that's going to be the biggest thing in UFC history, in my opinion, to have a two-division champion at the same time in Madison Square Garden at the debut of UFC 205, and we're going to be talking about this later. Is this going to be bigger than UFC 200? And I can't wait to get into it, but yeah, man, I can't wait to find out what that news is. What's everyone saying in the chat room, though, about this?
Well, people are still coming in. We got Pat in there, Rusty, Ann's in there. Muradai just checked in. So that looks like apparently we were, according to Ann, we were having some technical difficulties, but she thought maybe they were on her end. But then, it wasn't too long after she put that up on the message. Then it cut out on me for a second, and then it came back like the connection went. And then got back together. So I don't know.
I'm running at 97%. So we're green light right now.
Okay, all right, man. So Muradai wants to know. He's not sure if we talked about it yet. Did anyone hear what Dana White had to say about John Jones? Oh yeah, we did. We did mention that already. But Dana White said John Jones greatest talent ever and worst screw up ever. Yeah. So we went over the whole John Jones mess. And I mean, I have been one of his biggest critics, but I do hope he gets it together.
Me too.
I don't like to see anybody fail. He's a dad. He's got a family to support. So in all seriousness, I don't want to see the guy fail. I want to see him get better, and earn a living and do what he does best, which is entertain people. So, yeah.
This is the final straw. This is the final straw with me as one of his big fans. And I think a lot of his followers feel that way. And I'm surprised he still has as many as he does, man. But I'm holding on by a thread. I believe in him. I've been through my hard times before.
Right, so, and the UFC, you're right. You're absolutely right, Eddie. UFC has given him a lot of chances. I was kind of surprised that they gave him, this one. But I mean, it has to do. It's a testament to how skilled he is and his popularity, his ability to make money. Right or wrong, he puts asses in the seats. He makes people buy the pay-per-view, so they're willing to give him another shot.
Well, let's cross our fingers here. It's the perfect segue into the next topic, which is, UFC 200. We all saw John Bones Jones kind of screwed that up within the last couple of hours. This time around UFC 205, we didn't really have many bad run-ins. No, not really many injuries. Bilal Muhammad's opponent, Lyman Good, got dropped out, gets replaced with Vincente Luque. But, however, Tim Kennedy finds himself on the plane on his way here to New York, over here on the East Coast, finds out that his fight with Rashad Evans has been called off. and replaced. It's going to be bumped up, guys, to UFC 206. So don't you worry about that. It is a bummer, but it's already bumped up to UFC 206. So no worries there.
So do we know that for sure? Because I had read earlier today, and then I hadn't been able to check back.
I saw it on SureDog right before we went live. That
okay, because I guess maybe this morning there was some speculation. Well, that's it might have been Ariel Helwani. You know, this is developing. This is what we're hearing at this point. We believe that they're trying to put it on 206. Okay, so now it's a definite. That's good. You know, before that we had some confusion. Well, first of all, Rashad Evans, it was an issue with his medicals, somebody asked him about it. He won't get into it any further than that. He'll just say it was something, something with his medicals. But it was something on an MRI though. It was something that was coming up on an MRI.
That's scary.
So that sounds pretty serious, but apparently it's not serious. It sounds like it potentially could be. The other thing was that we had Kennedy, kind of out of desperation, tweeting Nick Diaz and saying, "Hey, what do you think? I need a dance partner." And then you had Smiling Sam Alvey saying he wanted to fight Kennedy. Too soon.
He fought last week.
And then you had get this. You had long before there was Platinum Mike Perry, there was Phil, the New York Badass Baroni.
Yeah.
Right? Blast from the past, Phil Baroni, still kicking, still around, challenging Tim Kennedy. And I mean, he's from New York. He is New York, so of course he would want to be at Madison Square Garden. But a guy who used to just viciously knock people out.
Yeah.
That fight with Dave Manet will go down as one of the most vicious in UFC history, where he had Manet standing and he just just kept the guy standing up with his punches. Yep. Manet was out on his feet and he just bang 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 bang, just kept him up there, just absolutely destroyed him. But so you can scrap all that, forget about Sam Alvey and Phil Baroni and Nick Diaz. It looks like it's going to be, like you said, Rashad Evans and Tim Kennedy 206, which is good. They needed to kind of beef up 206 a little bit, but it's unfortunate it's not at 205. I was looking forward to it for 205.
Yeah, I was too, but there was a fight that got bumped up because of this. I forgot what exact fight it was. If anyone in the chat room can remember what fight got bumped up, I think it was let's see. It's not the Frankie Edgar versus
No, Misha. I think it's Misha Tate.
It was Misha Tate. I see the official one. I even posted the official one right here on our channel. Misha Tate versus Rocky. And you know what, Ted? I can't wait, man. I can't wait to break it down.
You're funny. Yeah, let's see. Well, you know what? That I think those are the three items that we were going to talk about. John Jones, Tony Ferguson, and Evans and Kennedy.
I just wanted to say really quick, because we spoke about it last week, we have to touch on it really quick. Bellator 163, Mr. Wonderful versus the former champ Liam McGeary. Did you watch it, and what did you think, Ted? Real quick.
Oh, I saw it. I watched the fight, and yeah, I mean, it was a good win for Phil Baroni. I mean, there are a lot of people out there that aren't a big fan of his style, but it was a dominant style. I mean, it's kind of like, if you don't like the wrestler, or if you know you're going up against the wrestler, you know what he's going to do, but it's not so easy to stop him from doing it. And Liam McGeary could not stop Phil Davis.
Yeah.
He couldn't stop Phil Davis. You couldn't stop him. So and he admitted it. He said, hey, you know what? He was the better man tonight. And so I don't think we've seen the last of Liam McGeary, but I think for a lot of people, they were like, look at Bellator here. The best Bellator light heavyweight just got beat by a guy that the UFC got rid of. What does that say about Bellator? I don't know if I was ready to agree with that per se.
I'm not either. No way.
Yeah, I mean, I still have a lot of respect for Liam McGeary.
Oh, without a
and
doubt.
I think he'll go back to the drawing board and he'll work. He'll dissect that fight and he'll work on things. But in the meantime, we've got Phil Davis as champ. He's realized the dream. He was a great collegiate wrestler. I remember him when he was training at a facility outside of Penn State, because he went to Penn State. He graduated from there. This is about like 2008 maybe. I was working for a magazine. I went and I interviewed him. And he had I don't know if he had made it to the UFC just yet at that point, but he was climbing the ranks he was doing like regional shows.
Well, I was supposed to be there, Ted. I told everybody I was supposed to be there. I passed up on signing up for my press pass and credentials and everything because I was supposed to go with my father, and my father, like you guys all know, was just in Florida, and one thing led to another, and I didn't freaking go. And I'm so freaking mad about it, but it didn't change much, Ted, because I had the best seat in the house right on my couch with my popcorn, my cotton candy, and peanuts. I was pretending like I was right there, and I still was able to cover the fights for everybody. So I had fun. It was cool to see the Irish Brennan Ward get that knockout over Assad, right? Awad Assad or
yeah, Saeed Awad.
Yeah, that's right. That's it.
There you go. Yeah. We got it. We worked it out.
So that card was awesome. Up next for Bellator, of course, Tito Ortiz versus Chael Sonnen. I can't wait to break that down in the following week. But now, Ted, it's finally time for this historic conversation for me and you. This might landmark another great episode here. We're going to be reviewing UFC 205 in its entirety for you guys. I want everybody to realize that the chat room is open if you want to chat along and share your ideas, thoughts, combos. Ted is in charge for that. And if you guys are just tuning in, you're listening to Evil and Intoxicated, episode number 21. Make sure you guys subscribe down below to check out us on iTunes and also on Podbean. I mean, on Podomatic.
Podomatic. Hey, one thing real quick, Eddie. Muradai, our friend Muradai, he's saying, as far as it relates to Rashad Evans, an old childhood injury he had to his brain. And they are much more strict in New York due to a fighter getting brain damage, so the commission won't let him get his license to fight in the state.
Oh, that has to be heartbreaking to him.
And it showed up on the MRI. Wow, I didn't. Yeah, I hadn't read that. He says he can't.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, he can't point to one source, but it's where he picked it up here and there, reading things. So everybody do their own research. As far as that is concerned. But that's what we're getting at this point. It kind of makes sense in a way. But wow, very interesting.
Thank you for that. I really do appreciate that. I like trying to get that in for our segments. So I do appreciate that a lot, Ted. It is time, man. It is
okay. Now it's time. Now it's time.
We're going to be starting all the way from the bottom, guys, and I have the card right up here for you guys, so you can follow along, fight by fight. It's the updated card. You guys all want to play along with me. And Ted, I totally wish you had the UFC Pick-a Map, but we do at Pure Evil MMA, Pure Evil Army. UFC Pick-a Map, you can go down the line, pick all of your picks for the fight, how you want it to be done. You can pick like McGregor, first round KO. You can pick it like that and see everybody who follows me in my show and this show. You can see who everyone picked, and you can see my picks as well. And whoever wins that has their name announced on the podcast, and a big shout out on Twitter. So definitely check that out if you want to get involved with that. All you got to do is message me on Twitter or even Facebook. We do have a Facebook page now at Pure Evil MMA, and also at Pure Evil MMA on Twitter. So let's get right into it, Ted. UFC 205 starts off with a female fight. And I'm so happy it starts off that way because the girls know how to start things up. We have Caitlin Chukagian going against Liz Carmouche, who is a American vet.
Right. She served in the military, and that's awesome. And we haven't seen her in a while. She's been kind of inactive for. She hasn't fought in like a year and a half.
Chukagian? But no, Carmouche. Okay. You're talking about Liz. Yep.
Oh, Caitlin also served in the military?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Liz Carmouche served in the military and has not fought for about a year and a half. She's done some grappling. I think recently we saw she was in a grappling tournament. But as far as the UFC, has not been around much. 10-5. 10-5 as a fighter, so she's got more experience than Caitlin, who's 8-0.
Yep.
Caitlin is undefeated. Um, but yeah, this should be a very exciting fight. Did you see the two of them? I was watching they had a press conference. I think they've had at least two. So today they had a press conference and they had face-offs. Chukagian is probably about 4 inches taller than Carmouche.
I always like waiting to see them stand together, no matter what the fight is. It's and see them on fight week. It can decipher a lot in your mind, you know.
Yeah, Chukagian is kind of like a Holly Holm, really, really tall, about 5'9", long blonde hair.
Beat Lauren Murphy, man. She's no joke.
Yeah, so 27 years old, 8-0, 5'9", Team Renzo Gracie. So she's good on the ground.
Out in Philly.
Yep. Or maybe New York. I mean, either way, Renzo has his home base is New York City, but I'm sure he has he's got affiliates all over the place.
Yeah.
But when you look at her record, she's got 2 KOs, 1 submission, 5 decisions, and she's 1-0 in the UFC. I was watching a little bit of one of her fights, and she was what was it? She was going for a triangle, and I really liked the way she worked the elbows in. She had the triangle set up. It wasn't like locked in, but she had it there, and then she was working elbows, and I forget which way she was going with them, and then transitioned to an omoplata from there. So I mean, she looks really good on the ground. And when you look at Liz Carmouche, she's not easy to finish, but she has been submitted before, so I'm kind of leaning towards that for Chukagian. I think Chukagian could get the submission on Liz Carmouche.
I mean, I never like talking about MMA math or anything, but if we look at the breakdown of accuracy, landed per minute, and everything, Liz Carmouche has a higher percentage. Kaylin, though, she's just breaking into the UFC, so that's going to be going up for her. And if she can get a win over Liz, man, that would be huge, to beat Lauren Murphy and then to beat somebody like Liz Carmouche, who's ranked 9th right now. And Kaylin's on the rankings already at 14, so
okay.
Second fight on a very big card, man. And if she is, it would make sense if she is training at Renzo's in New York and being on this card. And to start it off, man, to be the first person ever to be fighting on Madison Square Garden for the UFC. Liz Carmouche, veteran of our country. Thank you, Dana White, and everyone who set this up. It means a lot to our vets.
Yeah. So Caitlin, she probably, like I said, she doesn't have the experience that Liz Carmouche does. Hopefully the bright lights of Madison Square Garden don't get to her. I mean, she's not going to have necessarily octagon jitters because this will be her second time in the octagon. Although, have we ever proven how long octagon jitters last for? Does it last? Does your first fight in the octagon totally rid you of octagon jitters, or do you still kind of get a little bit of the butterflies even the second time? I don't know. But anyway,
the only thing I can compare that to, Ted, is varsity football. When I played football, and like when you're a freshman and you go see a varsity game or playing a varsity game, it kind of does take you back for a second to think. You think more outside, like not on your game plan, but people watching. And then after that, you do get used to it. But to be an octagon at Madison Square Garden, got to be on 1,000 times light year different level. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't be surprised if that's a big deal for every one of the fighters on the card, even the more experienced ones.
Right. So I'm just wondering if that's going to come into play, and then also the fact that she does have less fights than Liz Carmouche. Liz is older and has probably been training.
Some really good names on her. Even though she lost, you learn from a loss,
Right, absolutely. Iron sharpens iron, as they say, and you learn more in your losses than you do in your wins. All those cliches, but they actually ring true. And so that might come into play there. That kind of the veteran status, and I don't mean military in this sense. I don't mean the military veteran status, but just the veteran in cage status that Liz Carmouche has and enjoys. But I'm going to stick with Caitlin on this one.
By submission?
By submission, yep. You heard it here first, I guess.
Could seal the first win. That would be huge for either girl. I do want to root for Liz, like real bad here. I would love to see Caitlin win at the same time. All I know is that it's going to be one hell of a fight. I think Caitlin might take this by decision, but I can see it going to a submission for sure, especially after you said you watched that. I got to check that out, so definitely email that to me. So
Okay,
up
man.
next, Ted, we got Jim Miller, who is just coming off a win against Joe Lozon, going up at Thiago Alves. The Pitbull, another Pitbull.
Another Pitbull? You got to be kidding me. Come on.
But this is a great fight, man. 27-8, Jim Miller. I mean, he goes in there and bangs. Thiago Alves, 26-10. He goes in there and he'll bang. So I just honestly think that Thiago will win this one here. I want to hear what you have to say about it, though.
All I have to say is, let me bang, bro. You got to let me bang, bro. No, but some people have said this could be fight of the night. This could be kind of the because it's down low on the card, not a lot of people are thinking about it. Everybody's thinking about Conor and Alvarez or Weidman and Romero, et cetera. But this could be kind of that sleeper, but actually, when you look back on the card, you say, oh man, that was the fight of the night for sure. Two guys who have been around for a long time, who know how to excite the crowd. They and always bring it, every time, because they don't know anything else.
Yep.
But to bring it. I mean, look at the experience. Jim Miller, 27-8. Thiago Alves, 21-10. So just been around for a long time. Always entertaining. Miller has just a couple notes here. Miller on a 2-fight win streak. Joe Lozon, like you mentioned, and Takanori Gomi. Those are his 2 wins recently. Thiago Alves, his last fight was a loss to Carlos Condit by decision. Not by decision, by doctor stoppage. I couldn't read my own writing. But even so, I can't wait for it. I think, this is the quality of fights that you're going to get on UFC 205. This could be a main card fight, no problem, like on Fox or even a regular pay-per-view. Yeah, man, but because we're talking about 205, it's down low on the card. So every fight is a great fight.
I'll tell you what, Ted, that last fight that Miller was in was very impressive against Joe Lozon. He did a lot better than I thought he would do, honestly, especially since Lozon was coming off that knockout over Diego. But Alves, man, his Muay Thai and is just on point. I think that's going to be a huge factor here. He does have great striking, just like Jim Miller. Only 3 rounds. I mean, this would be a great 5-round fight if it was on a different card. But to start the prelims off on Fight Pass, and guys, it will only be on UFC Fight Pass. If you don't already have UFC Fight Pass, you got to get it. But this could definitely be fight of the night. Yeah. So how do you see it going? I see this one going to decision as well, unfortunately.
Yeah, that I was going to say a decision. Jeez, man. I mean, it's almost a coin flip for me, but I'm gonna lean towards Miller because he's been streaking. But what does that mean? That doesn't mean much of anything these days. Fighters. I mean, you just never know. But I'm going with Jim Miller.
Okay, all right, Ted.
He's an East Coast guy, so am I. Wait,
what about me? So am I.
So are you. So you can pick Jim Miller if you want, Eddie. That's fine. So I'm going to pick Jim Miller. All respect to Thiago Alves, and they're going to put on a great show, and it's going to be a decision. It's going to go to decision. They're going to just be battling it out,
Without a doubt. So after that, my boy Bilal, remember the name. Don't forget it, Muhammad. And he just came on Pure Evil MMA, Ted. He said that he wants to get this fight over Vicente Luque. He's going to be fighting Vicente Luque. This is a short notice fight, but he says that he wants to go in there. He wants to finish this quick. He wants performance of the night, and then he wants to go sit in the stands and watch the rest of the card.
Well, wouldn't that be nice?
Nice?
He wants it all on a silver platter.
Yep.
But Bilal Muhammad, his name comes up on the message boards for the owner of one of, if not the worst nicknames in MMA. Remember the name? I mean, that's up there with...
He explains it on the podcast.
I'll have to listen. I mean, that's up there with Beastin 25-8 and the other guy that's action-packed. What's that guy's name? It's like non-stop action-packed.
Oh, yeah.
Right? People mention that one, Beastin 25-8, and then remember the name.
It shocks everybody when it came out, and originally he had a different nickname. It was like the Spartan or the Gladiator, like that.
The Warrior.
The Warrior. There you go. And
which is so generic,
He wanted something different, and it works, man. Everyone talks about it, so.
People do remember the name. I mean, you don't forget it. You know, if the fighter's called remember the name, I mean, it's...
Well, if he lost, I mean, then it would kind of be like a mockery kind of name, but he's been on a pretty good streak. I mean, he did lose that fight against Alan Jouban, but he did take that on short notice. He was a Titan FC champion, and that was his first fight in the UFC on short notice, but it was one hell of a performance and ended up almost winning in that third round. And then he just fought against... who did he just fight, Ted?
Oh, jeez, I don't know. So
Montano, Dodger Montano.
Okay.
And he ended up winning that by TKO. But you know what? Vincente Luque, we all watched him on, season 19 of Ultimate Fighter, I think it was. The Black Zillions versus ATT. And, you know what? He's no joke, man. So it's going to be a great fight either way. How do you see this going? I mean, I don't really like making my picks on people that I've interviewed because it's kind of awkward, and I'm very biased, so I leave it out. What do you think about this?
Well, but you've interviewed Bilal Muhammad, but you haven't interviewed Luque, so you could go with Muhammad, or you just don't want to go against anybody that you've. No, I know what you're saying, man.
Somebody called me out. They were like, "It seems like you're very biased to people that you interview, like always picking them." So I just want to stay away from it, you know.
Oh, and so it's I mean, look, I know, Eddie, that you you put a lot of thought into your picks. So if that appears that way to somebody, it's purely coincidental. But I could see how somebody could say that, oh, you just picked the people that you interview because you want to butter them up or whatever. And there is that emotional connection, you know, when you interview somebody, you spend a lot of time with them and whatever. Like later on in the card, we got Tim Boetsch. Oh, actually, he's the next fight. I've interviewed Tim Boetsch, you know, so yeah, it's difficult for me to pick against him. I have picked against him in the past, I'm pretty sure, but I get what you're saying. When you look at Luque, you know, I got to admit right off the bat, I don't know a lot about Luque or Muhammad, but Luque is 3-1 in the UFC. He's got 4 KOs, 5 submissions, and 1 decision. And then Muhammad, you mentioned the loss to Jouban is his only loss. And that was by decision, so he's tough to finish. So I'm going to go with your pick. I'm going to go with... Well, wait, you didn't pick anybody.
Well, I do favor Bilal here, especially the fights on short notice. I do favor that, but I just don't want to...
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I'm going to go with the crowd. I'll bend to peer pressure. Pat's picking Muhammad by KO, TKO, round 1. I know you're surprised because I am.
I made my night. Hell yeah, Pat. There you go.
And Muradai Muhammad KO TKO round 2. So there you go. And, Rusty's saying Rusty feels your pain. He says it's kind of hard to have a fighter on your show and tell him he's going to get TKO'd.
Yeah. I mean, guys, Vincente though, you guys got to remember Vincente's grappling though. Vincente's grappling is one of his strong suits here. He's very young. It's going to be a great fight. If you guys want to check out the interview with Bilal Muhammad, make sure you check out Pure Evil MMA up on Apple iTunes.
Well, yeah, I mean, just one more thing about Luque. I mean, he has 5 submissions to his credit, so that's no joke, you know. Yeah, with another exciting fight. Another exciting fight on 205.
I just actually interviewed Vincente Luque's last opponent, who was now a Titan fighter. He was on that season as well, actually his roommate. So.
Oh, okay.
So let's get into the next fight, Ted. Tim Boetsch, the Barbarian, versus Rafael Natal, ranked 14. This would be a huge win, and if you ask me, Tim really needs this win under him. But Rafael, man, no joke, brother.
Right. I mean, this is another fight between 2 guys who are very experienced. Natal, 21-7-1. He was on a 4-fight. I did a little research here. 4-fight win streak before running into Robert Whitaker, the Reaper, who to whom he lost by decision. And then you look at Tim. He was on a 3-loss skid before a win over the late Josh Salmon. And so yeah, you're right. I mean, you know, although Tim did, you know, his last fight is a win, but nevertheless, you know, no fighter's going to be complacent with that. You want to start to build on that. You know, you want to start to build a win streak. And so, yeah, so Tim definitely needs this win as well.
I mean,
Yeah,
Tim's like 10-10, so he really needs this win.
10-10. I think he's 19-10.
19-10. Yeah, I think you're
I
right.
think.
You are right. You're all right. 19-10. There's a little
19.
glare.
That's all right, man. That's all right. Yeah, I mean,
glare.
Tim is known for you remember the ragdoll that he did on that one guy. I forget the guy's name, but he basically just picked the guy, and it was almost like a hip toss where he underhooked him and then turned and just like did almost like a pile driver on the guy. It was amazing. That's and Joe Rogan called it the ragdoll. So it was a ragdoll throw. But he likes to use he uses the push kick a lot. He says he picked a little bit of a Jeet Kune Do up, watching Bruce Lee, but of course he was a collegiate wrestler, so he's got that. I love his uppercuts. You remember the Yushin Okami fight?
He's got a strong chin too, brother.
Right. You remember the Yushin Okami fight where I think he was down 2 rounds, and then in the 3rd round he had Okami up against the cage and just unloaded on him vicious uppercuts that knocked him out. So he's just a strong guy. I met him, like I said, I interviewed him a couple of years ago. Not a couple of years ago, my God. It's more than a couple of years ago. He was because he's had 2 stints in the UFC. This was his first one before they cut him the first time. And I went to his house. His house is he's from Sunbury, which is like maybe an hour and a half from my house. Drove up there, met his family, and I brought my family with me, and they kind of like just opened their house up to us and stay for dinner and this and that or whatever, stay and hang out, and it was awesome.
You brought your kids?
Yeah, I brought my kids, and so it was a great time. This is when Tim Boetsch was training in like a garage at the rear of his property. It's before he's got his own gym in Sunbury now, but it was before he was training. I think he's since gone to City Adong in Boston. But before he did all that, his father-in-law was a collegiate wrestler and boxer. So he was training with his father-in-law and a bunch of his buddies who had martial arts backgrounds. And so that was really something. But anyway, back to the fight. That's a tough pick.
Yeah, it really is. And another fight that I think might go to decision, Ted, honestly.
It very well could. Yeah, I mean, you look at Natal, his wins, pretty well spread around. 4 KOs, 8 submissions, 9 decisions. And then Tim Boetsch, 9 KOs, 3 submissions, 3 decisions. Wait, that doesn't add up to 19 now, does it? Is that what it is? But is that his? Oh, maybe I was looking at just the UFC. I don't know. I wrote down 9 KOs, 3 submissions, 3 decisions.
I got 4 KOs, 8 submissions, 9 decisions.
Oh, okay. Wow. Anyway, so yeah, I'm gonna go with Tim Boetsch by unanimous decision.
Oh, wait. I'm looking at Rafael Natal. That's what I'm looking at. Sorry about that.
Yeah, 4 KOs, 8 submissions, 9 decisions for Natal.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, man. If it doesn't end early by knockout, it might go to decision. I mean, I know that's not like an in-depth breakdown for you, but definitely another toss-up. Very even matchup here. Very close for both guys. And honestly, I would like to see Tim win this. But yeah, I'm leaning towards Rafael.
Well, Natal is a black belt, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, right?
Yep.
Boetsch is more of a wrestler, although obviously he's been training in the ground game for a long time, in Jiu-Jitsu for a long time. But he's not very easy to submit. He only has 3 losses by submission. So it could come down to the stand-up, and I've always liked Tim's stand-up. Yeah,
and if Tim doesn't knock him out in that first round, man, I think we might see a decision. I think that's the only way it's going to end is if Tim ends it.
And this is a good weight for him at middleweight. I think he's been doing better at middleweight than than light heavyweight. Am I right?
I am not 100% on that.
I mean, I know he had the 3 losses. He was on that 3-loss skid, but seems like this is a better weight for him than at 205. Because he and I are about the same. He's maybe
6 foot.
like an inch taller than. He's only about 6 feet, which in light heavyweight is actually kind of short.
Wait, how tall are you, Ted?
I'm like 5'10", 5'11".
Yeah, you're a pretty tall guy.
Yeah, you know. But I mean, you know, you look at light heavyweight, you got guys 6'2", 6'3", 6'4". Heck, you know, Gus is 6'5". John Jones 6'4". You know, a lot of guys are 6'2", 6'3".
Dude, I'm 6'1". I'm almost 6'1". I don't feel that. Like, you don't realize it when you're tall. You know what I mean? It's I remember when I was a little kid, I just wanted to see over the desk at McDonald's so bad when I was a kid. You know what I mean? Like, you're that, and you're just. And
Yeah.
ever since then, man, once I broke that, it made no difference. Like, I got as tall as I needed to. You know what I
Well,
mean?
once you could see over the counter at McDonald's, you were good.
I was satisfied.
All right, so hey, people are already. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say our next matchup, but what were you gonna say? Something about the chat room?
I was going to say something about the chat room related to our next matchup.
All right, cool.
How about that? People are already moving on to that. I think they were tired of us talking about Boch and Natal, which is fine. They're picking Khabib by Pat. I know it's a
First round
shocker.
knockout.
It's a shocker. KO TKO round 1 for Nurmagomedov. Muradai says Khabib by unanimous decision. He's even got it round by round. 30-20, or he's got a judge by judge. 30-26, 30-26, 30-27.
Here, I'm gonna write that down so I can double check that for next week's, because that would be crazy if you do get that right, and I will give you credit for that.
Oh my God! I mean, yeah, there should be. If you were betting, I don't know how the whole betting thing works, but if you can drill it down that far to each
Yeah.
judge, you should get like extra money for that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's
Bonus,
just
cash.
me.
Well,
That's
come
just
on
me.
here, Khabib, man, undefeated. 23-0 record, the Eagle. He did take a 2-year layoff. Do not forget, he did take a 2-year layoff. His last fight against Daryl Horcher was one-sided in that first round. I thought Khabib was getting tossed around a little bit too much than we expected, but he came right back, was able to seal the win. A good warm-up fight, even though it looked great for Daryl Horcher in my opinion, but it wasn't that impressive to me. So if he can beat Michael Johnson here, which is going to be a step up in competition after a 2-year layoff, Michael Johnson coming off a knockout win over Dustin the Diamond.
Right.
And if Michael Johnson wins here, man, I'm leaning towards Khabib, but if Michael Johnson wins, it's going to be a shocker to me.
Well, yeah, I mean, just real quick about Daryl Horcher, because he's actually from this area. He lives nearby me. And he was in a horrific motorcycle accident crash after that fight with Khabib. I haven't heard too much about him lately. I mean, I know he's recovering, so I hope if he's not back to training, I'll have to check in on him. If he's not back to training, hopefully he gets gets there soon, and hopefully the UFC gives him another chance, because he did them a favor. He stepped up on short notice. They made it a catch weight. And he stepped up and helped them out. So hopefully, against arguably one of, if not the best lightweights in the world, and when did he get finished? Second round. I mean, he lasted through the first round. He landed on Khabib. He was landing shots on him. So hopefully they give Daryl Horcher, whose nickname is the Saint, Daryl the Saint Horcher. Hopefully they give him another shot. But yeah. I was watching the face-offs today. I was talking about that press conference they had. So they had face-offs. Johnson and Nurmagomedov, a lot of respect for each other. They were shaking each other's hands, they were hugging each other, smiling, talking. The other thing I took away from that, Michael Johnson has unusually long arms.
Yeah, he does, man.
His arms are
knees.
really, really long. So what does that mean to me? He probably has a reach advantage.
Well, look at the Nate fight. I mean, that was the one time I think he didn't have a reach advantage, Michael Johnson. One of the times.
Right. So I feel pretty certain he will have a reach advantage over Khabib, which just so happens that Michael Johnson is more of a striker than he is a ground guy, so that's in his favor. Khabib Nurmagomedov is a great ground guy and a takedown artist as well. It was one fight, I forget who he was fighting, but he took his opponent down like 20 times, just tossed him around. You know what I mean? So we could see, although he does have 8 knockouts to his credit. He's got 8 knockouts, 7 submissions, 8 decisions,
and no losses. None.
No losses, but like you said, he's been a bit inactive.
2 years.
You know, versus a guy like Michael Johnson, who's been active. Now, but here's the other thing. I've been keeping tabs on Michael Johnson. I see his Instagrams from time to time. He goes really, really hard at the Black Zillions, especially with.
Yo, he goes hard.
He goes hard with that guy Usman, Kamaru Usman.
Usman or Usman?
Who is he? He's an Ultimate Fighter.
I said Usman or Usman. What did you say?
Well, I call him Usman. Maybe his name is Usman. Kamaru Usman.
Okay.
Usman. Sorry, not Guzman. Now, anyway, so there's an argument out there, that you don't need to do that with any regularity. You don't need to go hard. You don't need to do a lot of hard sparring. Remember, Cerrone said he doesn't do it much anymore, and then you had Robbie Lawler saying, I haven't done it in many, many years. I haven't done hard sparring. There's that argument, because you could end up scrambling your brains too much in training.
Well, look at the guys, old school boxing, Ted. If you bring it back then, those guys went through wars in the gym, sparring matches, and look at them. Look at a lot of them now. They did a lot of brain injuries and stuff like that, and it's just a waste almost if you're not getting paid to do that,
Right. I mean, the argument on the other side is, well, if you don't spar hard in practice, then you're not going to be able to do it when the cage door closes.
Yeah, the Shark Tank.
So there's two sides to that coin, and I've seen Michael Johnson go hard a lot, is what I'm saying. So we'll just have to see if that is a factor at all in this fight. But I'm going to pick Khabib in this. I think he's going to get a late third round a finish. I think he's going to finish him. He's going to get him on the ground, and he's going to get a. Actually, you know what? No, I'm going to change that. Submission. It's going to be a third round submission for Khabib.
I'm going for that too, Ted. I see them really taking their time in that first, second round, and I think Khabib will be able to tire him out.
Yeah, and I mean, Khabib. Look at him. He's got 7 submissions to his credit. Michael Johnson has fallen to submissions 6 times in his career. So, that's a likely scenario. But Judo Wilsonville says he has a bet on Johnson for knockout TKO. Oh, I think he's betting. He's either telling Rusty or he wants to bet Rusty. I can't figure it out. He says, I have a bet on Johnson for KO TKO Rusty.
Ted.
I think he's telling Rusty. I guess he's not. He's just letting Rusty know.
So if Michael Johnson loses by submission in a late round, will that be enough, like we talked about at the beginning of our show? Would that be enough to cement him for that fight against Tony? If it does come out the way we predict it.
For if Khabib wins,
the way that we're predicting it, will that be enough?
If he finishes Johnson, how does Khabib then rank against Tony Ferguson? Is Ferguson still number 1? Yeah. Will the UFC have the two of them fight? Or, a lot of people are against that type of thing. When you have 2 fighters that are streaking like that, and I'm inclined, when I see that happening, I'm inclined to say, let the 2 of them fight and determine the number 1 guy. Other people are like, no, that's not fair, because then you kind of end one guy's streak. So let the 2 of them go independently and have them each fight for the title. But I don't know. I kind of go the other way with it. Let them fight it out.
It has to happen with the storyline because it was teased so much. You know what I mean? And it's almost like who really is the better of the 2 at this point, because both of them putting on very impressive performances lately. And Khabib, his entire career has been impressive. So I do want to see that either way.
Yeah, and we're just all held captive by Conor McGregor because we don't know what the hell's going to happen. Is he going to take time off? Is he going to challenge Floyd Mayweather? Is his girlfriend pregnant? Blah, 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 blah. We don't know.
A couple
It's
days
crazy.
away from finding out, though.
Oh my God, I cannot wait.
Now we got Frankie Edgar, Ted, against Jeremy Stevens. Now things are going to start to get interesting, guys. This is going to be the FS1 prelim headliner here. It's going to be free and on FS1. It's a great headliner for this event.
Yeah.
Frankie Edgar, one of our hometown famous. But Jeremy Stevens, man, coming off a win against Barrow. And Frankie Edgar coming off a loss to Jose Aldo. However, take nothing away from Frankie Edgar here. He knocked Chad Mendes out in the first round in the fight right before that. It was supposed to be Frankie Edgar to fight Conor McGregor, but then they gave him Aldo and he lost. If he can now beat Jeremy Stevens, man, so many fights on this card are huge for all these divisions. These are very important fights. This is another very close matchup. Jeremy Stevens, very thirsty for this. If he can beat Frankie Edgar, it's going to be a great add to your resume. That's for sure. And when you're ranked number 2 in the division, going up against a star like Frankie Edgar, that's a huge pit in my stomach. At least if I was Jeremy Stevens, you know what I mean?
Right. So do you think if Jeremy Stevens wins, will Conor McGregor know who he is?
Yeah,
because
the real
you remember
question.
the press conference. Who the fuck is that guy? You know?
I don't know. I just.
I mean, obviously Conor knew who he was. He was grandstanding, but I mean, you look at Jeremy Stevens, 16 knockouts.
I just don't think that would deserve him to get into the talks with all the people who already are in the talk of, putting on Conor McGregor's hit list.
Well, and these guys are fighting in the featherweight division. I think that as it's been talked about, Conor's going to drop that belt. He's going to drop the 145 belt, and so therefore, what happens at that point? They're going to have to have another interim fight, or maybe Frankie Edgar. Not Frankie Edgar. Jose Aldo. He's gonna have to fight somebody. He's gonna have to either defend the interim belt, or maybe somebody can challenge him for the undisputed belt. I don't know. It's just everything's all crazy now, and it's all hinged upon Conor. Because who is well, Conor's the champ, right? Then we got Jose as the interim champ. Who is right below Jose Aldo?
Frankie Edgar.
Frankie Edgar is.
He's ranked number 2.
But he just lost to Jose Aldo. See? But if Frankie beats Jeremy Stevens, does that
Who's ranked 7th?
Yeah. So if Frankie beats Jeremy Stevens and Conor vacates the belt, will Frankie's win be enough to get him a rematch against Jose Aldo, and the two of them will fight for the undisputed? They'll just take that interim title away if Conor vacates. They'll just take Jose's interim belt away and say, okay, you two guys, Frankie and Jose, you guys are now going to fight for the undisputed belt. What do you think?
Can't do it, Dad. We can't do this to Jose, man. He reigned for 10 years, was unstoppable for 10 years. I know he wasn't the biggest star to people outside that didn't follow the sport like Conor McGregor is, but we owe it to Jose Aldo at this point that he has to be next to get that title shot. He had that belt for so long. He was the only featherweight champion the UFC ever had up until that one fight that lasted 13 seconds.
But yeah, and see, Rusty was saying, I thought Jose wasn't going to fight anymore. Well, it seems like he was in negotiations. He's in negotiations with the UFC. He said that, but then why on earth? My question was, why on earth would he travel from Brazil to Las Vegas to talk to them if he didn't want to fight anymore? If he really didn't want to fight anymore, just stay in Brazil. But he came up to specifically talk with the UFC. The other thing he said was he only wanted to fight Conor. That's the only fight he'll take. But if Conor vacates the belt, how could he fight Conor? How could he fight him unless he tried to chase after him, and went up to 155 to fight Conor? But I don't see that happening.
It's just the right thing to do for Jose Aldo is to give him that fight against Conor McGregor. Enough time has passed now. Enough time has passed. You have the promo picture of Conor McGregor standing there at UFC 200, standing over the cage, watching them. It just has to happen, Ted. I mean, Jose Aldo is the featherweight division, in my opinion, in the UFC.
But I mean, I'm saying if Conor vacates the belt, Jose can't fight him.
It's not going to happen here, Ted. It's not going to happen.
Can't. So Jose will have a decision to make. You know, how badly does he want Conor at all costs, or does he want the belt? What's more important to him?
I don't think Conor will give up the belt, especially if he wins it. He's going to want to defend both of them. You set the fight up immediately with Jose Aldo. If he does win, that's a big if. We're going to get into it, but Eddie's a big if.
You know what? I don't know. I tend to disagree. I don't think Conor's about defending belts. He's just about collecting belts.
Well, it's the journey. He's made this journey all the way to the top. He didn't want to take a step back and then defend it. He wanted to keep this journey going as far as he can get while he's in his prime, and I don't blame him for that, man. Look what he's done, and people still doubt him. It's crazy. But after this, he has to defend the belt, no doubt.
Right. But I think the UFC is going to force him to drop one.
That's what they're saying, yeah.
That's what they're saying.
I'm going to put one on this shoulder and one on this shoulder, and it's going to take an army to get them off of me.
There you go. I like that, man. Good job with that. But I think he's going to drop the 145 belt, man. Oh, yeah.
We got to love this sport. What an escape
I think
from reality.
He just wants to stand in the cage and do this. He's going to stand in the cage like this for that moment. You know what I mean? And he's in it for the money, which is awesome. The Jose Aldo fight may not be the money fight anymore.
Win or lose, Ted, this has brought back all the feelings of a Santa Claus. No matter what Eddie Alvarez says, I feel like there is a Santa Claus.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get to the whole Santa Claus thing.
Absolutely crazy, but yeah, man. If Frankie Edgar wins this, it is like you're in the cul-de-sac. You really are in the cul-de-sac after this win. What do you do?
So I think that getting to the prediction, I'm going with Frankie on this. I know he didn't look so great against Jose, and Jose really had him scouted, and Jose's takedown defense was amazing.
Oh yeah,
was absolutely on point. Was otherworldly against Frankie, who is a great takedown artist. But
Jose
I don't
looked on the point that night. He really was on the ball.
He was just on another level. But Jeremy Stevens is not Jose Aldo, and not to take away from Stevens, just a different type of fighter. Yeah. He's more of a blood and guts knockout artist, and I see Frankie getting back to what Frankie does. You know, his footwork, his movement, his head movement, his footwork, and going in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out, and using his punches to set up his takedowns.
Wait, one more time, Dad. What's he gonna do?
You know, and use it. You know, like he did, like when Frankie was at his best. Look at those two fights against BJ Penn.
Oh yeah.
Using the punches to set up the takedown. You're right.
The BJ stance, tippy toes.
Use the punches and the movement to set up the takedown, and get that takedown. Don't necessarily stay with the takedown, but it's in getting that takedown that you tire your opponent out. Then he's got to get back up again. Then you punch him a little bit, you take him down again. You know what I mean?
Both guys are great outside the ring. Jeremy Stevens, man, 17 wins by knockout. You can't look away. You know what I mean? 17 wins by knockout, and you're going up against Frankie Edgar on this card. Be a huge win for him. I just see Frankie winning here. Just like you said, I think he's just he's going to be quicker. He's not going to want to stand there and bang. He works the angles very well. He's a great wrestler. Yeah. He's an older fighter at this point compared to Jeremy Stevens, but honestly, Ted, he's riding that storm, man. There's no way you can't say he's still riding his prime. He beat Chad Mendes, Frankie, Uriah Faber, Cub Swanson, BJ Penn, Carlos Oliveira. His last loss was that last fight. Right.
And I thought he had. If you're going to go back, I mean, Ben Henderson. I thought he beat him.
Oh my God, that fight.
Yeah, I mean, how many times did he fight? He fought him once, or did he fight him a couple of times?
I thought he fought him a couple of times.
Yeah, I mean, I thought at least I thought he beat him at least once, if not twice, or I don't know. That he got robbed at least once out of those. But Yeah, I see Frankie coming away with the decision, unanimous decision win.
He
over
lost
Jeremy
twice to
Stephens.
Benson.
Yeah, I thought he beat him, but anyway, um, yeah, I see. Frankie, much respect to him. He's one of the he's like a Rocky guy. There was, I don't know if you saw this. ESPN did a feature on their website about building the perfect MMA fighter, and they were saying like, okay, the mind of Dominic Cruz, the speed of Demetrius Johnson, and then for heart was Frankie Edgar.
There you go.
That guy's got heart. That guy's got heart. So, the interesting thing was John Jones was nominated in like 6 of 10 categories. He just didn't get the number 1 spot in any category. But as far as well-roundedness, he certainly
He took
takes
the cake on every category, right?
Yeah, yeah. But so the left hand was Conor McGregor, right hand Anthony Johnson, wrestling was Daniel Cormier, submissions was Damian Maia. That's about all I can remember at this point. So yeah, it was pretty interesting.
I mean, how many times has Jeremy Stephens lost by knockout? Do you know the answer to that one, Ted?
I don't off the top of my head. I know he's been hot and cold like his last 4 fights. His win-loss, that kind of thing. So hot and cold, but yeah, 16 or 17 wins by knockout. So and the last fight was the win over Hayden Barrow,
which was a huge win for him to pick up. Barrow trying to move to that weight class didn't work out his way. Remember the weigh-ins? He like threw him off the stage.
Oh yeah. Jeremy Stephens is crazy, man. I mean, he's a crazy man. He's a banger.
So
and
what's your pick here?
Oh, it's Frankie by unanimous decision. I mean, Jeremy's going to try to take his head off, but I think Frankie's just going to is too wily. He's too wily. He's too smart, and he's fast, and he's deceptive with his head movement and his footwork, and then his takedowns. And he's going to put it all together. I think he's going to look at what went wrong with Jose Aldo, go back to the drawing board as he's done time and time again, and we're going to see a far better Frankie Edgar than we did in that fight. And like I said, Stephens is a different fighter than Jose Aldo.
Yeah.
So moving on.
All right. My pick for that, Ted, really quick is.
Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
No. I definitely want to move on. Sorry about that. I was letting everybody know what we were doing. Frankie Edgar, I'm going with here. I mean, if Jeremy Stephens wins, congratulations, man. That's awesome. That's huge. You took out a huge contender in that division. You're going to be bumped up the rankings. I just don't see it. Just like you said, he's going to move too much. He finds his angles and works it really well. Jeremy Stephens wants to just stand and bang. Barrow made a couple of mistakes by trying to stand there and do that with him, and that's what got ugly in that last fight with Barrow. Frankie Edgar, a veteran fighter, been in these situations before with fighters that want to stand there and bang with them. He's beaten some of the best out there. This weight division is Frankie's weight division. You got to get by him. I just don't think it's the right time for Jeremy Stephens to beat Frankie Edgar. I think Frankie still got it. He's still in the running just as much as Jose Aldo is. So I got Frankie winning this. I understand you saying unanimous decision. It could very well go into especially with only 3 rounds you're working with. I think Frankie might beat Jeremy Stephens up with all the angles that he's working, and he did a great job in that fight against Jose Aldo, but it was Jose Aldo. You know what I mean? If that was Jeremy Stephens with that game plan, I think it would have worked perfectly. And I hope that he brings that Saturday night, because that will most likely seal him with the win. Just watch out for that right hand of Jeremy Stephens.
Yeah.
You don't want to get caught by that, I'll tell you that much.
Great fight.
All right, so on to our main card, Ted. You ready for this? Are you guys ready for this? Really quick, what's going on in the chat room, Ted? Is everybody ready?
Judo Wilsonville had to cut out. He had somewhere he had to go, but he gave us his picks for, I guess, the rest of the card. Well, I'll take it from Misha. Misha, decision win. Cowboy, round 3 submission or TKO knockout. Weidman, decision win. Joanna, decision. Woodley, round 1 knockout TKO. And McGregor does the same.
Oh, I can't wait to tell you what I think about that fight, the Woodley fight. Those are great picks, man. Every one of these fights could be a main event fight on any card. Any card.
Yep.
You pick it. And the last question that we're going to ask at the end of the night, guys, will this be bigger than UFC 200? So I want you guys to all think about that. If you're just tuning in to watching this, you're watching Evil Intoxicated, episode number 21. I'm Evil Eddie from Pure Evil MMA, frontproofmedia.com. That guy above me, the infamous Ted Check Ted. Where can everybody find you on social media if they're just tuning in?
I'm everywhere. I'm ubiquitous. Mainly on YouTube. Just put in TEDCZECH. You know, like the Czech Republic. Put that in, and it'll take you to my channel. I try to upload every day to to keep up on all the MMA news. I give you my opinion. I ask for your opinion, and try to have a little conversation. Have a little community there. Like Eddie's got his community. The Pure Evil Army. I don't know what we call mine, but anyway.
The Czech Republic, bro. It's the Czech Republic.
The Czech Republic. We'll call it the Czech Republic. But anyway, yeah. So I'm mainly on there. A little bit on Twitter, a little bit on Facebook, but mainly it's YouTube because I do my daily videos.
All right, and guys, the podcast will be up on Apple iTunes for you tomorrow morning. This show and also Pure Evil MMA. Ted was on the show. We break down. What fight did we break down? It
was Weidman Romero.
Weidman Romero fight, and great job. We had a couple other guests. I had Blair Tugman on from Bellator. He came on the show as well. So that will be up tonight for you by sunrise. We'll be here on YouTube, iTunes, Podbean, wherever you want it. Let's get into the main card now. We got some of the best. Miesha Tate versus Rocky. And Rocky has been on one hell of a streak lately. Even made my top 15 pound for pound list that we did recently, Ted.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, she's definitely on a streak there. But this is her biggest. This is, I would say, is the biggest fight of her career. She came up through the Ultimate Fighter, and so yeah, facing a former champion, Miesha Tate. It's the biggest fight of Raquel Pennington's career right here. She's let's see. I was looking at her losses. No, she's never been knocked out. She only has 1 submission loss and 4 decision losses. And then you look at Miesha Tate, former champ. Most recent fight was the loss of the title to Amanda Nunes. She hopefully has a better weight cut than she had the last time. That was kind of a horrific weight cut for her. I did a video on that where she was kind of sprawled out on the ground. You know what I mean? And I was like, what is this? What is going on here? And people were like, oh, no. I said, no, that's not normal. That's not normal. That does not look comfortable. I mean, and I know weight cuts are not comfortable, but it just and there were some we heard a little bit about that it wasn't very easy for her.
She looked awful the following day too during her fight, getting knocked out quick, busted up, slow, very slow. I realized like bogged in the mud. It almost felt like. I hope it's not that again. And she said it was just an off night in her latest interview. It was just an off night for her. Amanda has amazing striking, nothing taken away from her, but she just wasn't feeling it that night. That weight cut was a tough one.
Right. I mean, how do you? And when you think about it, you're like, okay, so you do all this dieting. You diet yourself to the point that you're so dehydrated you can barely stand, and then a day later you're expected to perform at the highest levels, of the sport against somebody who's trying to take your head off. I mean, that's just, you know what I mean? That's crazy. That's insane. So I just think that the whole weight cutting thing needs to be revolutionized. We need something needs to happen. I don't know what the solution is, but that's crazy. But getting back to Tate versus Pennington, Miesha obviously has more experience than Pennington. She's a former champ, as I said. I mean, she's fought Miesha. She fought Ronda Rousey 3 times, right?
Yep.
3 times.
Twice? I think it was only twice.
Twice? Okay.
This would be the 3rd time coming up. Once in.
Okay, she was gonna fight her a 3rd time.
Yeah,
I think.
once in Strikeforce, once in the UFC, and
Okay.
this would have been the third.
Yeah, the time in the UFC, she went to the third round. She actually took Rousey to the third round, although eventually lost to her. But a lot of experience with Miesha Tate, and it's very well-rounded, more so than Pennington. So I'm going to go with Miesha Tate here. Miesha Tate, third round submission.
Ooh.
On Pennington.
That's a great pick, Ted. I mean, was 7 wins by submission as well. Miesha Tate has been in this game for how long now? How long have we been watching Miesha Tate? She deserves as much credit as Ronda does.
Yeah, I mean, she was the Strikeforce champ before Ronda was, right?
Yep.
And then Ronda took her title. Mm-hmm. So, she's been in it for a long time, for sure.
And honestly, man, always going to be one of the best when you look back on women's MMA. Miesha Tate, if you can beat her at the end of this streak, Rocky, holy shit is all I have to say. Rocky's been killing it this year, man. She's literally been killing it. And I've been following her, but I honestly think Miesha Tate is going to put an end to this streak. Let's look back. Her last fight against Elizabeth Phillips. Before that, she beat Bethe Correia. Before that, Jessica Andrade. I mean, Rocky has been on a streak, bro, against some very high talented fighters. Miesha Tate will be the top of that cupcake right there.
I like the way you did that.
The cherry on top of the cupcake. There.
Yeah, I just think that I agree with you. It's a great streak. But I think the streak ends with Miesha Tate. It's been a great run, but and you never know. You never know what can happen. It's MMA, right? Anything can happen. But it is one of these classic examples of kind of the young gun versus kind of the wily veteran. And so who's going to win? Is experience going to win, or is the hunger of the young gun going to win? You know, we'll just have to see. It's interesting.
I think this is a good matchup for Miesha. We've seen her beat a lot of women with this kind of a striking style like Rocky has. I mean, she had a really tough time with Holly Holm, but we saw what happened there in that 5th round. She just looks, as the fight goes on, Miesha warms up. And if she doesn't have a bad weight cut, I mean, I usually don't like making my predictions, Ted, before I do watch the weigh-ins. I like to pay close attention to the fighters during the week leading up to it and then make my final prediction because, like we said, if Miesha has a rough weight cutting this time around, changes a lot.
Yeah, and I like what you said about she's kind of a slow starter, and I see Pennington kind of coming out of the gate fast, looking to finish, but Miesha's gonna probably has her scouted, and is gonna be able to do things to kind of negate that initial blitz. So I look to Miesha Tate to kind of drag it out, and try to make Pennington gas out. And then get the submission late in the 3rd round.
She was on a 5-fight win streak before her last fight against Amanda Nunes. I mean, she's been killing it. You can't take anything away from Miesha Tate. I got Miesha winning this by submission later. We'll start her later in the rounds, probably the 3rd round. But
so you like my pick? Okay.
Without a doubt, we see a lot of Miesha's finishes later on in the fight. A lot going into this though. I don't know if that's my official pick because, like I said, I do like watching the weigh-ins, and I will be posting my official picks up on Twitter and on the UFC Pick'em app. And you guys can play along with us if you want to join the league. Send me a message on Twitter. Ted, you should totally make an account, man, and play with us. And one last week for UFC Mexico. Pat got 13 out of 13 picks right last week, Ted.
Oh, my God.
I was surprised, man, so I do have to give Pat a round of applause. He did great last week, but and won due to bonuses.
What app is this?
UFC Pick'em.
The UFC Pick'em app.
Yeah. It's run by the UFC and like Metro PCS. I use it all the time for everything. I'm actually on it right now. It has the whole breakdowns of everything. You do the fantasy app. You can join my league for Pure Evil MMA podcast. I even have a segment on my show dedicated to UFC Pick'em for the winner. So whoever wins, there's a segment that Minion made with music in the background, and I announced the winner and everything. So you should get on board, brother.
UFC Pick, and then I have to. So within the UFC Pick'em app, you're in a group, like you got the Evil Army.
Yeah, you would join I'd send you the link to, you make your account, you sign up through your Facebook or your Twitter account, you make your picks, you say, I want Miesha Tate by first round submission. And you put that in, you make all your picks on the card, then you press save, and once you're joined in my league, every week your picks will be saved and added to the league, and everyone will be able to see like who you got and how well you're doing that night, how many you got right, how many perfects you got right between. It's a lot of fun, and I have a segment dedicated on Pure Evil MMA to it on Apple iTunes, podbean.com. Make sure you guys check it out. It's up on Twitter. Thanks for that, Ted. That was a good little help me there. That was check it out on Twitter. Just email me at evil_echo and at Pure Evil MMA. Not email, just tweet me on Twitter or on Facebook, whatever's easiest for you, at Pure Evil MMA. But Ted, you should definitely get on board. Anyone watching this, get on board. Right. Send me that message. We have a blast.
I think I'm going to get on board, Eddie. I think I will. So I join the app first, and then you send me the invitation to join your group? Is that how it works?
You have to have an invite from me. Not anyone can join our group. You got to get an invite. So I will send you the invite.
So I'll let you know when I get the app, and then you send me the invoice.
You don't even need to download an app. You can do it right on your computer. You can even do it right. UFC.com, Ted. UFC.com. It will say fantasy, and then you go right there, UFC Pick'em. You don't even have to download the app.
Okay, so I go to the... I'll do it.
You can download the app. I suggest download the app. That's what I have on all my devices. But you can also, if you don't have a Droid or anything, I know we got a lot of viewers in Brazil. Maybe they use a computer, so you could do it on computer as well. UFC.com, fantasy, UFC Pick'em.
Okay.
This is such a good ginger ale, bro. I've been on a ginger ale crush lately. We get those big boxes from Stop and Shop with all the cans in them for mad cheap.
Yeah.
Such a good deal. I got a little fridge here in the studio. I love it.
Oh, Stop and Shop, man. I used to go to Stop and Shop when I lived in Rhode Island.
Why? You guys don't have Stop and Shops in Penn?
No Stop and Shop down here. We have other stores. I mean, you know, we got plenty of stores.
That's
just
like
no
the big grocery around here. Where do you guys shop?
Well, I mean, we got Giant.
What the hell is Giant? I've never heard of that.
There's Giant. There's Weiss. You ever heard of Weiss?
What? No.
Well, it's probably like Weiss is WEIS, so it's kind of a German thing, you know, because there's a lot of Pennsylvania Dutch, a lot of German people in Pennsylvania down this way, so maybe it's like it's just a Pennsylvania company. I don't know.
Heard of that.
Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah, no, we got plenty of stores, just no Stop and Shop.
You guys have Dunkin' Donuts?
Oh yeah, plenty of Dunkin'.
One of my old bosses from California messaged me. He was like, Eddie, have you ever been to Dunkin' Donuts before? Is it good? Like, what? That is the best place ever. How, you never heard of Dunkin' Donuts, bro? What? Go in there right now. And that's where Angie works. Angie works at Dunkin' Donuts. She'll be walking in the door any minute. Right through here. Yeah. She'll be walking right through.
All right, man. We're waiting. Rhode Island, I mean, that's like Dunkin' Donuts Central. This is like a Dunkin' Donuts in every corner of Rhode Island. I think they have a corporate office there. You know, but yeah, I mean, I would imagine in Connecticut that, you know, it's pretty much the same thing.
All right, so yeah, I got Miesha Tate winning that, probably in the later round submission. Moving on, Ted, we got Ann's favorite fighter, Donald Cowboy Cerrone versus Kelvin Gastelum. I'm gonna let you go first here.
Oh, okay, Kelvin Gastelum.
Kelvin Gastelum.
I like saying his name, Kelvin Gastelum. It makes me feel like I'm a you know, like a baseball announcer. Kelvin Gastelum steps up to the plate. Anyway, so Kelvin, you know, weight cutting problems in the past, right?
Yep.
He's also been on a kind of a hot and cold, a win-loss thing. You know, he's a wrestler with but he's also kind of brought up the striking. You know, he's got some heavy hands. He's definitely at a height disadvantage and probably then a reach disadvantage against Cerrone. Never been knocked out, never been submitted. He's an Ultimate Fighter winner. Never been knocked out, never been submitted. 2 decision losses, and then his wins are evenly spread, as evenly as you can do it. 4 KOs, 4 submissions, 4 decisions. So, and then you look at Cerrone. Been around a lot longer than Kelvin Gastelum. 6'1", recently transitioned, jumped from 155 to 170, and has had great success. Right, three 3 fights, 3 wins in the welterweight division. I think he's really found a new home here. You know, I always thought when I looked at the guy, I'm like, this guy's 6'1" and he's at 155. He's a kind of a scrawny, 155, but he really filled out, and I think 170 is better for him. He was on. I was looking at his record. He was on an 8-fight win streak. Then he lost to RDA. Now he's on a 3-fight win streak. And up in the welterweight division. So, what's going to happen here? You remember his last fight? He had that amazing sequence where it was like what they call it? Like is it Dragon Ball Z? The Super Saiyan?
Yeah, you're talking about his fight against Rick Story.
I am talking about that fight because it was like a 4-strike combo. It was like an uppercut or right straight or an uppercut, and the guy Story kind of doubled over and bang, he caught him with the high kick. I mean, it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. I can't think of another word to describe it. Everybody was excited about it. There were gifts made all around about that sequence, and so Cerrone's just on a tear right now, and I don't see that. I don't see him slowing down. I see him going through Gastelum here. I see him getting the win. I know Gastelum has never been knocked out, but I kind of feel a knockout coming on. I think I'm going to go with knockout. Cerrone by knockout over Gastelum. And I like Gastelum. I think he's incredibly talented.
Very young fighter.
But I see Cerrone just charging up the ranks, and I don't see him stopping. I think I see him going through Gastelum.
I mean, Cowboys fought 4 times this year, I feel like. Let's see. The last fight against RDA was at the end of 2015, and then he fought 3 times so far this year. This will be his 4th fight this year, and his last 3 fights have all wins. He fought against Alex Oliveira, Patrick Cote, Rick Story. Great fights, but when it's a big card, it kind of seems like he's like hesitant almost, and I hope that doesn't affect him here. I haven't been really paying much attention to him this week. I haven't really seen much about Cowboy this week. I don't know about you, Ted. Have you?
The stuff I read about him actually wasn't very good. Aljamain Sterling was on the MMA Hour, and he had who do you have? Al Iaquinta was on one side, and I forget the guy's name. Gian Vellante was on the other side, his training partners. And he was talking about how he had a run-in with Cerrone, and Cerrone was talking to him. He didn't say the N-word per se, but he said that it was an inappropriate way that Cerrone was talking to him, so it led you to believe that it could have been something of a racial nature. And we know that, and everybody on the chat rooms was mentioning the whole Bobby Green incident that Cerrone that involved Cerrone a year or 2 ago. And I guess so Aljo had kind of a little bit of a run-in with Cerrone. This was at UFC 200 because he said it was during International Fight Week, and it was on a bus. And Cerrone said something to him, and then Aljo said, he's trying to joke with me, but I didn't find it funny, so I was letting him know. And then Vellante said he kind of went to the back of the bus where it was happening just to make sure that it didn't actually turn physical.
That's a shame to hear. I don't like hearing stories like that. But
I know.
With Cowboy, when he's confronted about these issues, he has a great explanation, and that's why I'm still a fan. You know what I mean? He doesn't mean any harm, you know?
I think also Sterling confronted at least one training partner of Cerrone's who's a black dude and said, I can't believe you let him talk this way. And so apparently it's the way that Cerrone talks when he's with his training partners. But Sterling said, well, I don't know him. Sterling's argument was he shouldn't be talking that way to me because we're not boys. We don't hang together. Mm-hmm. I don't know this guy. So, yeah, it's I don't like to hear about that kind of stuff either. So there you go. That's to answer your question. What's Cerrone been up to this week? That's the Cerrone news that I have for you this week.
All right. Well, another great Muay Thai fighter is Donald Cerrone. I mean, I think that that's a huge thing to train in is Muay Thai. I think that works
Oh
very
yeah.
well with MMA and stand up, and we saw that in his last fight, especially here with Kelvin Gastelum. Kelvin really likes to grapple. Am I wrong? We usually see him go in there, and he has 5 wins by knockout, 4 wins by submission, 3 wins by decision. Still a young fighter. Someone like Cowboy, though, that's a test, man, especially on the streak that he's on, especially when he starts getting mean and starts feeling it. But when it's under a big event, we all know that Cowboy kind of is out of his own body, it seems like sometimes. And I hope that we do not see that come Saturday. I will favor Cowboy to win this fight as well, though. Mostly, you're saying knockout. I can see that happening too, Ted. I can see it definitely happening by knockout. It's just I didn't even know that Kelvin never been knocked out before. But also, Ted, submission. Cowboy has amazing submission game. That's where I see this going. I see a submission in the second round.
Okay. Yeah. No. I mean, it's something I considered. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't be surprised if I saw Cowboy end it that way.
I mean, he's going to put a beating on the body and break the body down first. And Kelvin's, I just see it ending in the second round, hopefully by submission.
Yeah, you mentioned Gastelum's grappling, but he kind of reminds me of a young Johnny Hendricks, a guy who was a collegiate wrestler who then got into MMA and found that he had some knockout power. And kind of
focusing on that and letting go of the rest.
Start to focus on that, but that's going to be a mistake for Gastelum. If I was Gastelum, I would try to take it to the ground. Although
elbows of Cowboy, man, if you're in that clinch, watch out, dude.
Right. I mean, obviously every fight starts standing, so I think Gastelum is gonna try to stand and bang with Cerrone, but it'll end up being his downfall.
I like what you just said about he's like a young Johnny Hendricks, the way he realized he does have power in those hands. But we saw in that fight with Neil Magny, he tried to go in there and bang with Neil Magny, thinking, "Oh, this dude's coming in on here in short notice. I'm gonna get this knockout." Ends up losing that fight.
Right. Yep. Yeah, but I mean, he's still so young, Kelvin Gastelum, such a young guy, a lot of promise. It's not quite his time yet. You know what I mean?
So Ted, this upcoming fight, I don't want to spend too much time on it. I want people to really check out our break. We did an amazing, intense breakdown. We spent like 10 minutes talking about this because it is a big fight. We talked about, Chris Weidman versus Yoel Romero, of course, is the next fight on this list. And originally there was a 4-man tournament. It was going to be Chris Weidman versus Yoel Romero, and then they had Jacare versus Luke Rockhold. Now, Luke Rockhold had to get pulled out of that card. So we actually spoke about, who could step in for that. We spoke about that in the interview. Let's not touch on that now. Quickly, what do you think about this matchup, Chris Weidman, Yoel Romero, without spoiling the podcast?
Oh, well, without spoiling it, sheesh. I mean, I could say in general, I think that whoever wins this is going to be in a very good position to challenge Michael Bisping for the middleweight title. And this is a fantastic matchup because you got Chris Weidman, who's a great wrestler, but you got Yoel Romero, who I think actually has him beat in that category. He's got world-class wrestling. Then you look at the other categories. Striking. Chris Weidman is more of a traditional striker. He doesn't use very many kicks, but he's got great boxing.
Better not use any kicks. I'm going to tell you that.
Right. He used the kick, and he got himself into trouble with the Rockhold fight. Mm-hmm. Romero, on the other hand, is a more dynamic striker, using stuff like flying knees, spinning back fists, things like that. Then you've got submissions. Weidman definitely, so I would give the advantage to Romero in the striking. Then you've got submissions. Definitely Weidman has the advantage there. So, I mean, we've got two guys who are incredibly talented, but different styles of fighting. The other factor is cardio. You got to look at cardio. Now, this is only a 3-round fight, and I'll just say this quickly. Had it been a 5-round fight, Romero, I think Weidman would have tired Romero out. He would have dragged him into deep waters, as they say, and Romero would have gassed. It's only a 3-round fight. I don't see Romero gassing. He's been 3 rounds before and done fine. So I see a what did I say before? Did I say a unanimous decision win for Romero? I'm still going with that then.
Okay. Yeah, very tight matchup. Chris Weidman only lost 1 fight. Yoel Romero only has lost 1 fight. 9 wins by knockout. Yoel Romero is no joke, man. I mean, that last fight was really boring that he had against Jacare. Literally almost made me fall asleep. I thought it was going to be a great fight. Was it Jacare or was it Edson Barboza? It was Jacare. That's who it was.
Romero's last fight?
Yeah,
Jacare.
Yeah, Jacare, right?
Yep. I mean, he did have that spinning back fist, and he won the fight by decision. Although,
he then tested dirty, but then
right,
it all came back. It was contaminated, whatever. He was really upset about that, Ted. He actually couldn't believe it and started crying. I heard the story on MMA Hour when it originally happened. Yoel Romero was heartbroken that happened. He was one of the top contenders, man, and going up against Chris Weidman, who was holding the belt all this time. So Yoel's been looking at this like a title fight, but now he only has 3 rounds to finish Weidman. Weidman is going to put up a fight. We saw that fight with Rockhold. It took like almost 300 punches before the fight was called off, unanswered punches. He really needs this fight and really wants that belt back. Yoel Romero in his way right now. Yoel's been looking sharp. Yoel's hungry for this fight. I do kind of favor Yoel here. I do, but I think you're gonna have to check out Pure Evil MMA podcast to find out what I think.
There you go, perfect.
Banger. All right, so up next, Joanna Jędrzejczyk going against Karolina Kowalkiewicz, and everyone can pronounce this a little different. Ted, who's fighting next? Let's hear how you pronounce these 2 girls' names.
I say Joanna Jędrzejczyk and Karolina
Kowalkiewicz?
What's that?
How do you pronounce it?
Which name?
Karolina's.
Karolina Kowalkiewicz.
That's what I thought, and people are saying Kowalkiewicz. I hear them pronounce their names differently all the time, so I don't know what.
I'd see that usually in Polish, which she is, the WICZ is which, and I think the W is and then the other W I'm pronouncing as a V. I don't know, man. I'm just going with Kowalkiewicz. Kowalkiewicz.
All right, I'm going with that too. So,
we'll call her KK. We got JJ versus KK.
There you go. Polish power versus Polish pressure here, guys. So one thing that I'm worried about in this fight for Joanna is that clinch. We saw the nasty clinch of Karolina going against Rose when she would get in there, land some nasty knees on her, literally taking the breath right out of her. And we really never saw that much against Rose. Karolina Kowalkiewicz, just to give you guys a quick background story here, huge in Poland. Joanna has already fought her in their amateur. Joanna has a win over her via submission. So Joanna's the one who actually got Karolina to come into the UFC. She told Dana White, listen, over in Poland, this girl just won a whole bunch of belts or awards, and I want everyone in Poland to know that I'm the champ. I'm the one to beat. I'm the girl that you need to beat for the respect gained in Poland. So she had Dana White bring her over here. And what do you know? Karolina did great on a sweep. I think she had like 4 fights in the UFC, correct? 3 or 4. Beat every single. I'll double check my check facts if you guys in the chat room want to as well. Now she's in the position, man. This is huge. It could be trouble for Joanna if she gets sucked into that clinch game. However, Joanna's striking, Ted, is vicious. What do you think? I mean, I'm basing my calculations off that last fight, Joanna breaking down Claudia Gadelha. I mean, she just keeps getting better and better and better. What do you say about this?
Yeah, I mean, every fight for Joanna is a tough fight. You know, when you're at the top of the mountain, everybody's climbing up that mountain to push you off. And yeah, I mean, she just has looked fantastic, and is. But you know, a couple things. She was quoted recently as saying that, you know what, she sees the end. She sees the end of her career. She wants to retire as champ. She wants to, defend the belt a few more times, but she also sees being a wife and a mom in her future. Now, sometimes people say that's the kiss of death. You start thinking like that, and
We spoke about it a couple weeks ago. That's almost a sign of weakness.
yeah, or I mean, letting those thoughts creep in, gets
Makes
your
it
mind
easier
away.
to give up.
Gets your mind away from your purpose at hand, which is to win the fight. On the other hand, you could argue, hey, fighters need to think about their future, because it's such a finite time that you are a fighter, and you've got to, like I did a video about the fighter summit that they had recently. It was for veteran fighters to try to give them options for when they retire.
And there should be something like that.
Right, so it's only natural to think about what the next step is for her. The other thing is that she just recently, I don't know exactly when, but she moved to the United States. Joanna did.
That's a huge thing as well. We've seen a lot of fighters do that and not work out for them.
Well, and on the other hand, she said she's having a great time at American Top Team. I guess it was difficult at first because sometimes it's tough to fit in. But she said, after a little bit of a transition period, she feels great there. So I think that's actually going to work in her favor, and I think she's going to come into this, in top shape, both physically and mentally. And I think she's going to get the win. She knows what she's up against with Carolina, and at the end of the day, it's a win-win because it's a win for Poland, for Polish power. I'm half Polish, so I feel a certain kinship in a way, and but I think she's aware of that clinch, and she's gonna prepare for it, and be able to negate it or have an answer to it. I mean, when somebody clinches you, you can either try to break out of it, or you can uppercut. You can try to clinch them back. So there's all sorts of ways to get around that clinch, that you mentioned there.
And she was also landing some beautiful combos in her last couple of fights too, when she was exiting the clinch. So she's also undefeated. Both these girls are undefeated, and one of them has to lose for the first time.
Somebody's always got to go.
And for it to be in New York, me and you both said in the past episodes that when this originally was talked about and brought up, we suggested they had to do this in Poland. However, the Polish community, a lot is in here in New York.
I would say, thinking about it now, yeah, if not Poland, I would say actually Chicago. There's a huge. That's actually where my dad's family, Polish side, is actually from Chicago. So I would say there, but New York. I mean, there's got to be a Polish population in New York as well. That's the melting pot. We talk about the United States being the melting pot of the world, and New York City probably the best example of that in the United States, if you want to boil it down to one city. So I'm sure there's going to be plenty of Polish folks in Madison Square Garden for this. So yeah, it's going to be a great one. But I see Joanna coming away with the win. Oh geez, let's see.
I mean, honestly, Ted, like the history here between the Irish, like New York really is a melting pot, and there's beauty there. There's magic in the city, man. I mean, have you ever been to New York City? First off,
yeah, it's been a while, but I have been there a couple of times.
Okay, so our listeners out there, I look at where everyone views the show from. We got people in Brazil, Canada that may never ever been in New York before. Like, it is literally like walking into a Disney movie. Once you get off that subway, walking up the stairs and seeing all the lights and everything like that all the songs, Frank Sinatra, like it really does represent the beauty of the city, and it's a huge melting pot.
New York.
That's how I started that was our theme song starting the show off today, was Frank Sinatra instrumentals.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep, that was what I warmed the show up with. And New York, huge melting pot. My family, Italian, came over on the boat. Irish came over on the boat. Polish came over on the boat here to New York to settle in. New Haven, beautiful city, melting pot as well. Very big Polish population here. This is huge. This is so huge to have this event in New York City with all of these people like Joanna Jędrzejczyk, who represents Polish fighting. People like Conor McGregor represents Irish fighting. Perfect and magical. I'm so pumped. But
Oh
here
yeah,
I got Joanna winning, Ted.
Yeah, I just gonna say I love the whole international flavor of it. It's when you're talking about a world title, that means you fight anybody from anywhere. And yeah, I mean you look at the card here. Yoel Romero is Cuban, and let's see who else we have here. Connor obviously Irish. Belal Muhammad, where's he from?
He's
probably
Muslim. He's from Chicago, but
okay. Rafael Natal is Brazilian.
Yep.
Habib Nurmagomedov from Dagestan, which is Russian. Yeah, I mean we've got people from all over the world, and it's great that we're having this. I mean we see that on every card, but it's great that we have that in this card at Madison Square Garden.
So if we break this down by MMA stats, MMA math, and like I said, I really don't like doing it. Joanna Jędrzejczyk trumps everyone, trumps Karolina Kowalkiewicz all the way down the line with attempted per minute, landed per minute, accuracy, defense, everything. Is got a little higher rank on her here, but then again, she hasn't had that many fights, Karolina, in the UFC, so you never know. But she looked amazing in that last fight against Rose. I did not expect that. I don't know if any of you guys did, but perfect fight for UFC 205 here for two Polish girls. I'm just leading towards Joanna here. If Karolina could win, man, it's going to be a huge upset. Do you think? Do you agree with me there or no?
Yeah, it'll be an upset. It'll be an upset. Yep. I mean, not a huge one, but an upset. And yeah, so I mean, you know, it's going to be a great fight. It's going to be a great stand up war. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. So up next, another title fight, Ted. Tyron Woodley going up against Wonder Boy Stephen Thompson.
Oh man. Yeah, this is. Okay. Pat is here.
Pat is back.
Pat's back, and Pat says what? Thompson by knockout, round 1.
Had to stop in to let us know, right?
Yeah. You know what? I agree with him.
Really?
I agree with him. I mean, maybe it goes to round 2, but the way I look at it is similar to, well, I was going to say Rory McDonald, but Rory McDonald actually decisioned Tyron Woodley. You look at Nate Marquardt. Nate Marquardt knocked Tyron Woodley out. But I mean, it's a clash of styles, and styles make fights, as they say. And but I do see Thompson getting a head kick knockout.
Oh man, that would be crazy if that does happen. I mean, we've seen weaknesses in his game. I mean, Tyron Woodley, he's got those long arms, like you said before about one of the other fighters. Real long arms. Who are we talking about with the long arms?
Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Wonder Boy has a challenge here, and if he wins it, it'll become the new champion, man. He's had a lot of doubters along the way, me being one of them, Ted. I'm not gonna lie, I've been doubting Wonder Boy in the last couple of fights. And
have you?
He's been surprising me a lot, and here I keep going back and forth. I kind of do see Wonder Boy winning, but I think Tyron Woodley has just as much as a good chance knocking him out.
Well, he's got that one-punch knockout power, and that is always to be feared. You've always got to be wary of that, of the one-punch knockout power. The other thing he has in his favor is the wrestling. You know, he's going to try to knock Wonder Boy out. He's made no bones about it. He says, I'm gonna knock him stiff, but he's got the wrestling in the back pocket.
I hear Angie coming.
Ooh. All right. Oh, should I wait until she comes in?
Oh.
He doesn't. Let me in! Hurry! Where's my team? Hey. Where's my team? Awesome.
I love the new studio, brother.
I hear it. I hear you, man. Yeah. You're always raving about it.
So all right.
Awesome. So anyway, give me my coffee. Give me my cigarette.
I know she wants me to get her cereal bowl. I told her to wait 1 second. Ted, I'm gonna go get our cereal after we break this down really quick. And
okay, all right. So Woodley's got the
Stephen
one
Wonderboy Thompson here. We saw the wrestling game, people trying to wrestle Stephen before. In the past,
Right.
Johnny Hendricks, he shut him down quick, man. We never seen Johnny Hendricks handled that way. Tyron Woodley kind of has that same kind of technique in there, trying to go in there, he tries to rough you around, and you just couldn't get into the gap. You couldn't get into the. Stephen Thompson just shuts you down. He's an undefeated kickboxer.
Right.
Okay.
And you mentioned Woodley's long arms. Well, a leg is longer than an arm, and that's what Stephen Thompson uses. I mean, yeah, obviously he's got two fists,
And he's quick with it too.
but he uses his legs. And so, I mean, he's kind of a Lyoto Machida stand-up karate fighter, in and out, in and out. He blades his body. He stands sideways, so he gives you less of a target, and he's in and out, in and out, in and out.
And he switches that stance up. He'll go in there with that, and then when he exits, he switches stance again to throw him off.
Yeah. So it's Woodley brought in Sage Northcutt to try to
I don't think
mimic.
that's going to help him that much.
Right, to try to mimic Stephen Thompson, and he knew, Tyron Woodley knew that Stephen Thompson was going to hear this, so he said, "Well, I think Sage is a better version of Stephen Thompson." He was just saying that. That's crap. He's just saying that to try to get inside Stephen Thompson's head. It's kind of funny because did you see the open workouts today?
Yeah, that was absolutely amazing. People were booing Woodley.
Well, he was going, I want you to say, he was trying to do a back and forth with the crowd. He's like, blah, blah, blah. And then the crowd was going, Wonder Boy, blah, blah, Wonder Boy. So, he got trolled there. But I'm not sure he even heard it. I don't know if he heard it. But, I don't think that Sage, although he's good at karate, I don't think he is an adequate, mimic. Of Stephen Thompson. I don't think he was able to do what Stephen Thompson can do.
I gotta agree with you, man. And it's kind of crazy, Stephen Thompson's story here. And we saw him in some trouble against Matt Brown. We even saw him in trouble in one of his other fights, the Jake Ellenberger fight. He was having some trouble with Jake in that fight at the beginning.
Well, Matt Brown finished him, and Ellenberger actually knocked him down. So yeah, no, I mean he can get into trouble, but he's had so much time to prepare. He knows what he's up against with Woodley, and he knows he's got to stay away from that right hand. And I think he'll be able to do it, and I think he'll be able to get that head kick knockout.
I mean, he's beat Robert Whitaker before. I mean, yeah, it was a long time ago in 2014. Jake Ellenberger, 2015, another great fight. But the most recent fight that really impressed me were, that last fight, Rory McDonald, was a chess match. Me and you both said it because it was not that entertaining. However, Wonder Boy has just been growing and growing, and the style of Johnny Hendricks, very similar to Tyron Woodley. I could see Tyron winning in that first round, and if not that first round, then I could see Wonder Boy winning in this. There's 5 rounds, Ted. There's 5 rounds. I think Wonder Boy has a great chance of winning, but that first round is going to be very, very hard. If you rewatch the fight against Tyron Woodley and Robbie Lawler, even that first punch that landed, that wasn't on his head and his torso. It literally looked like it broke a rib. The power behind his fist, man, is something that I don't think Wonder Boy's ever seen before or had to deal with before.
Right, when you look at that fight, Robbie Lawler stood right in front of Tyron Woodley. It was almost as if he was kind of frozen.
Very weird, yeah.
Stood right in front of him.
Like he
was kicking a little bit, but he stood right in front of the guy. I guarantee you, Wonder Boy will not stand right in front of Tyron Woodley.
No way.
Will not do it. He knows better. Let's just face facts, okay? The guy has one-punch knockout power. You're not going to stand right in front of him. The other thing, you mentioned the 5-rounder. Maybe, now, I mean, the more the longer you stay in the cage with Tyron Woodley, the more chances there will be that he can knock you out. But maybe Wonder Boy will want to drag it into deep waters because the knock on Tyron Woodley is that he's got so much muscle that he doesn't have the cardio. and that he gasses, and he gets upset about that. If you say that to him, he gets really mad and calls you a racist and stuff like that. But I don't know. Yeah, but you're right. If Woodley can survive that early, blitz from Woodley, because Woodley's going to try to do what he did to Robbie. He's going to try to end that fight with one punch early in round one. So that could be a psychological advantage for Wonderboy if he can survive, if he can get out of trouble or avoid trouble in the first round, and get it to the second round or get it to the third round. He's going to be far better off, and then he can start to throw that high kick.
Well, let me run back on my words really quick. I think Tyrone has a good chance in the first and second round, because that first round is going to be more of a feel out for both of them. I feel like here, because it's going to be really hard to catch Wonderboy in the opening rounds. We see the distance control of Wonderboy on point. Johnny Hendricks couldn't do anything at all to him.
Right. Yep.
So, I don't know. Maybe I think you might be persuading me to go with Wonderboy now. Originally, I was going to tell you guys I have Woodley, but now I'm really tossed up here, and I really can't give an accurate prediction here. So I'm taking my pick of Woodley and withdrawing that for now. Okay, that's my pick.
Right, man. That's okay. We'll let you do that. We'll let you do that, Eddie.
Thank you. I hope no one's mad. I really want to put thought into this, because now you don't want to double guess your picks. You know what I mean? I really try to really do a good job for you guys. So
yeah, no, but I'm going with.
Got me worried, Ted.
No, I'm sticking with mine. I'm saying Wonderboy, either second or third round knockout, head kick knockout.
Wow, imagine that.
Oh man, it's gonna be great. All right, so hey, we are up to the main event.
Are we really now? All right, guys, it looks like we are. Conor McGregor, and oh my God, I can't believe it. It's time to break this down. Conor McGregor versus Eddie Alvarez. And this fight is for the ages. This is a fight that I will be telling my grandchildren about, Ted, here in Madison Square Garden. The story of Conor McGregor and his legacy here, what he's done for the sport of mixed martial arts, which I cover. That's a huge person in our sport that we're going to look far down the road. Now, if he can win, you're going to staple that right in there, man, as the two-time or the champion in two divisions. Never been done before. And that for that to happen at UFC 205 in Madison Square Garden debut, it's historic.
Right, and that's why the UFC wanted to sign this fight.
That's the only. It's a super fight.
Right, that's why they wanted this fight at this historic event. Because of the magnitude of it. I did videos on this. I was beating this drum, till I was blue in the face. But that Conor should have defended the UFC featherweight belt, the belt that he owns right now. He should have. The fight that he should be fighting is against Jose Aldo. But this is the money fight. This is the historic fight. So I understand from a business standpoint why the UFC wanted Conor to fight, and why Conor wanted to fight Eddie. Now we know that all of that whole mess with Khabib. So the UFC allegedly used Khabib to get Conor to bring his price down. They also used Khabib to get Eddie to agree to fight Conor. So there's all that power play going on there. But in the end, this is the fight to make at such a big event. This is the fight that caps everything off. You know what I mean? It's the biggest fight that you could possibly make on the biggest card to date. You know what I mean? This has been the fight that we've talked about for years, the holy grail of MMA. When I would talk about the holy grail of MMA, it was the biggest organization, UFC, in the most famous arena, which is Madison Square Garden, in the most famous city in the world, one of them, New York City, where they've been banned for a dozen years.
Because of that crooked politician.
So to have a title fight, we've got three. We've got three title fights in the biggest organization in the world, in one of the most famous cities in the world, in the most famous arena in the world. That's the holy grail of MMA right there. And now we're about to see it happen.
Is our new president going to be there, you think?
I read a rumor about that too. the two rumors I saw today, and it was on the same thread, was Mayweather was going to be in the front row, and that Trump was going to walk Conor down to the cage.
Maybe the big announcement's going to be they're going to bring Donald Trump and Hillary out to fight. Maybe that's the big announcement.
Well, we had that fight already.
Well,
I
they're
guess
both in New York. Come on.
I don't know if Trump's going to walk him down because that's not his style.
Wait,
I think Trump
walk Conor down?
Yeah.
That would never happen.
I don't see that happening. You'd need to have it's too much of a security risk. I would see Trump. They're gonna pan to him. He'll be in the skybox. He'll be in a skybox because the skybox.
Man, I really think he will be there for this.
He'll be there, and he won't be down on the floor.
You guys like that picture over there?
What's that?
No, I was talking to our listeners. There's a picture of Conor McGregor that's a photo swap of the 40-year-old virgin. So it's Conor like this, like that, like the.
Yeah, I don't see Trump down on the floor. That's too security-wise. That's too hard to control. But in a skybox,
yeah,
where he can be protected and everything like that. That's where I see him.
All right, so Conor McGregor versus Eddie Alvarez. Eddie Alvarez just beat RDA, but the fights before that, Ted, I want to focus a little bit on before this fight with Eddie Alvarez, before RDA fight. Underground King, man, we saw Eddie Alvarez in some wars in the past. This dude just keeps coming at you, no matter how hard you hit him. You can hit him with that right hand all you want. He'll keep coming forward, and that last fight, RDA brought the dog out on him. But however, Ted, it was very impressive. I just I've been iffy about RDA, like where RDA's head is at and everything. I just didn't think he was there, and I don't think he was there this weekend either. It was just very awkward. But Eddie Alvarez, man, in his last couple of fights, not that exciting. He'll wrestle you. And we saw this style, similar style with Conor, is the fight that he had with Showtime Pettis. Every time Showtime Pettis tried to do something flashy or use his kicks, Eddie Alvarez disengaged that and threw him up against the cage. And we all know how that happened. We all know how that played out. Conor McGregor, however, has faced similar opponents like Eddie Alvarez, Chad Mendes, Dennis Bermudez, Dennis Seaver, Brimage. All guys, same body type, same stylistic matchup. In my opinion, nothing new to Conor here. Will it come down to power? I don't know. Both these guys have great power. Eddie Alvarez, you got to watch out for his power just as much as you got to watch out for Conor's. I'm gonna stop there. Where are you at, Zed?
Oh, okay. Just, first of all, I don't think Conor ever fought Bermudez. You mentioned Dennis Bermudez. I don't think he ever fought Bermudez.
Dennis Seaver.
Dennis Seaver and
Dustin
Mendes.
Diamond. Diego Brandao. That's who I was thinking.
Brandao. Okay, sorry. What you know? What you might have thought, but Brandao beat Dennis Bermudez. So maybe that's why you thought of Bermudez, and Bermudez, Brandao, they both begin with B. But anyway,
well, Brimage, Max Holloway, Diego Brandao, Dustin the Diamond, Dennis Seaver, Chad Mendes, Jose Aldo, and then Nate. That's Conor's lineup right there. I'm sorry about that, guys. Yep.
No, that's all right, man. Yeah. So when I think about this fight, I think of Eddie. What Eddie said. He said basically he's a left hand, and then he's got the rock back. Now the rock back is a boxing technique where you square it up, with somebody, and then you just go like this, so their punch just misses you. You're timing it. Here comes their jab, and they're just missing you, so that you rock back, and then you can come forward and you can strike with your own. You can throw your own strike. So. He's trying to say he's got Eddie scouted, and he's got Conor scouted, and that he's boiling Conor down to those two things. Conor's been working a lot on his ground game. He's been working a lot. I've been paying close attention to his Instagram. He's been working a lot on his takedowns, and he's an athlete. So I think he's gonna pick those takedowns up, and I think he's gonna shock Eddie. Yeah. Eddie thinks that Conor's going to stand with him. Conor's going to go in for a takedown. Mark my words. Conor will go in for a takedown.
Oh.
And he'll get it. And Eddie will be beside himself. It will shock him. He won't know what to do. He'll be a fifth out.
not that good on the ground. I mean, we've seen Conor on the ground.
He's probably fairly proficient, but he's not known for that. He has a wrestling background. He's not known for his submissions. He's a Rocky Balboa type fighter. He's got to get knocked down. It's almost like he's got to get knocked down once in a fight. It's almost like a prerequisite, or you know what I mean. It's almost like it has to happen for him. He's got to get knocked down so he can get back up, and that shows tremendous heart. But at the same time, Conor will just keep knocking you down. On one hand, on the other hand, I think that's what Eddie thinks, is that he says, "Oh, I'm more than willing to stand and bang with him." So Conor is going to zag when Eddie thinks he's going to zig. Conor's going to try to take him down. I feel it. I can feel it in my nuggets.
Well, you know what, Ted? If we see the Conor McGregor that we're used to in the UFC before Nate, I mean, he had this style where he kind of lulls you to sleep, very like slow, very like a lullaby almost watching. Yeah. And then he'll just strike you. And it's I think that's a very unique style. It gets very natural. He talks about taking styles from animals, that natural kind of movement. He was really big on that for a while, up until that Nate fight, the natural movement. And I think that game worked for him very well in the past. And very well against this stylistic matchup. I think it's very interesting what you say, him going to bring Eddie Alvarez down. That would be wild, man, if that happens. I'm a little worried that Eddie might knock Conor out. I could see that happening in this fight. But Conor, this is nothing new to Conor. I think Eddie's going to try to push forward. Conor's very used to people coming pushing forward. He stands right on the outside, and the angles that Conor uses, he's not going to stand there and bang with them. There's no way.
Now, yeah, the knock against Conor is that he quits mentally, like he did against Nate Diaz the first time. He went into that panic wrestling mode, and then that's what led to the rear naked choke. So a guy like Eddie, who is known for his heart, may get knocked down, but he's going to get back up, and is going to just fight until the end. Whereas people are saying the criticism against Conor is that he quits mentally. So I wonder if that's going to come into play at all. That's another thing that I'm thinking about. And then one more thing is that with the second Nate Diaz fight, we saw Conor bringing out the leg kicks,
and that worked very well for him.
Right, it worked out well. Do you think that he's going to try to do the same thing against Eddie if he doesn't go for the takedown?
Those leg kicks work very well, but we saw somebody, Showtime Pettis, that tried doing that flashy kind of kick. I mean, I don't think that Pettis is as sharp as Conor is at this point. And don't get mad at me for saying that. I think Conor would have more luck with it, but I think it's a risk he's not going to want to take. Robin Black did a great breakdown of this fight. He did a scale of risk. And it's really all about if Conor wants to take the risk here of doing that, because we did see what happened. Every time somebody tries to be flashy at Eddie, he makes it very simple. He sticks right to his basics. He goes right in and tries taking you down. And he said this in an interview before with Ariel Helwani. He was like, I don't see what the big deal is about Conor. Just go in there, grab him, bring him down, and put the beating on him.
Well, Chad Mendes tried to do that, and Conor was flat on his back and was yelling at him, "Is that all you got?"
And then popping his ears. It was cupping Chad Mendes' ears.
Now, granted, that was at 145, and Mendes is mini Mendes, and Eddie is a much bigger guy. Eddie used to fight at welterweight long ago, so Eddie's a much bigger, muscular guy. Might punch harder, but Conor seemed to not be fazed by being on the bottom and taking strikes and then delivering strikes of his own from the bottom. Eddie talks about, hey, there's no Santa Claus. I'm going to show you there's no Santa Claus, and that he's the spoiler. He's gonna ruin Christmas for all those Conor fans out there. So it's a high. You're absolutely right. It's a high stakes game. It's a high stakes game for both of these fighters, and
once in a lifetime event, man. If Conor pulls it off, we'll remember it forever.
Right. And we'll either way we will, because Eddie could say, hey, I'm the guy that beat Conor in the main event of the biggest event of the UFC's career so far up to this point.
Well,
The
Connor
life
should
of the
be
UFC.
Connor should really be the underdog here. You know what I mean? It's a featherweight moving up a rank. You know what I mean? And trying to take out the champion right away. I mean, Connor, you would think would be the underdog here, but he's not. He also does have a reach advantage on Eddie, doesn't he?
I'm not sure about that, but probably. I think he's got, at least height-wise, he's got Eddie by an inch or so.
It says they're the same height, but when I looked at them standing next to each other, Connor looked taller to me.
He looked taller. Now, maybe he had heels on, I don't know. But he did look taller. And so it's possible that he may have a little bit of a reach advantage over Eddie.
Once again, Ted, MMA math, just to throw it in there because it is kind of important, even though it doesn't add up sometimes. Connor, on all levels, landed per minute, accuracy, attempted per minute, defense, all trumps Eddie Alvarez.
Funny you say Trump.
I had to.
Yeah, I mean, but, then again, Eddie is just such a blood and guts fighter. Like, I keep going back to the get knocked down, come back up again, but then again, look at how many times did Conor knock Nate down? 3 times?
Yeah, in like the
last fight,
first or second round, yeah.
So I mean that does take its toll on you, getting knocked down and then getting back up. It takes its toll on you. So
we've never seen Eddie get knocked out before, right?
I don't know that I've never seen him.
No,
and I remember
even
him.
Right when you think he's about to be finished, he pushes forward like a beast.
Right, and Conor has to be ready for that. He's got to be ready mentally for that as well as physically.
Well, with 17 knockout wins, Conor McGregor taking the world by storm. I don't think he can get the knockout on Eddie Alvarez. What do you think? Like, how do you see this really going down? You really think it's going to be submission on the ground?
No. I see Conor using that takedown to get a psychological advantage over Eddie. Like I'm going to take
not knowing what's coming next, right? Throw him
right.
off.
You didn't think I was going to be able to take you down. You didn't expect this at all. Boom! I did it. I just double legged you, right? And maybe not hanging out. Maybe trying to go for ground and pound, but I actually see him using that takedown, to wear Eddie down and gain that psychological advantage over him. But then I see Conor actually getting a TKO or a knockout.
I mean, we see him break the body down. We see him
third or fourth round. Yeah. You could go for the body. See, he's got. Here's the thing: Conor has more weapons than Eddie's letting on. Mm-hmm. Eddie says, "Oh, he's just a left hand and a rock back." No. Conor's got far more weapons than that, and either Eddie is just trying to simplify things, or he's just not telling you everything, or he knows that Conor has more than that, and he's just not going to say it. I don't know which it is, because there's so much of this mental game that
I think Eddie knows what's coming. I mean, this is a huge event. Conor's used to these events. You think Eddie is? I mean, we saw it before. Bellator tried doing pay-per-views. Remember when Bellator tried doing pay-per-views with Eddie Alvarez and Michael Chandler, I think it was, right?
Yeah.
He's used to that, but man, this is on a different level, and Conor brings another atmosphere along with him.
I'm just thanking Muradai. He's taken off, so I'm telling him thanks for stopping by.
Yo, make sure you subscribe down below and check Ted's page out.
Yes, sir. Because we're running a little bit late. Eddie, are you able to give us a pick for this one, or are you gonna?
Yes, I am gonna give you guys my pick for this one.
All right, man. Let's hear it.
A very bland pick, though. I think Conor's gonna win. If you want to hear my full breakdown of this fight, I'll tell you exactly how I see it happening on Pure Evil MMA podcast up on Apple iTunes. I got it, Ted. I can't give it all away here.
All right. That's okay. I get you. You're always the salesman.
And they're like, oh, why am I going to listen to his show if he just, if you already told me?
Yeah. But me, I'm thinking, third or fourth round.
But then again, Ted, remember, my Woodley fight, I didn't make that pick either. You got me tossing up with that one as well. That one was Wonder Boy. maybe Wonder Boy can pull it off. I'm gonna put a little thought into that.
All right, man. All right, you think about that.
All right.
Oh, hey, go ahead.
I was about to say, that's that.
Right, and then you wanted to talk briefly about, do we think this is going to be bigger than 200?
Yes. Is this going to be bigger than UFC 200? It's already breaking records. It broke the gate record already for Madison Square Garden. Do you think it's going to be bigger than UFC 200? Do you think that they've done enough promotion for it to be bigger than UFC 200?
Some people were critical. They said, there hasn't been that much promotion. I haven't been watching a lot of Fox Sports 1 or a lot of anything, mind you. You know what I mean? So I couldn't tell you about the promotion. I mean, I know they started the Embedded series and all that stuff. So, I think the thing kind of sells itself, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we all know about it. Obviously, it's sold out. And I think it's going to break pay-per-view records. I think it's going to break whatever the highest is right now. I forget which
UFC 189, I think, if not UFC 200, right?
Or wasn't 202? Wasn't 202 higher?
Oh, was it the Nate Connor fight? Oh no,
I forget.
I think
now.
it did beat 189. I think you're right, man.
Well, 100 was the top for a while. UFC 100 had the top pay-per-view.
And then UFC 189.
So I think it's going to break everything. It could go 2 million. Because UFC has never had a pay-per-view with 2 million buys. It could go 2 million.
Well, I'm happy that we were able to break this card down. We're going to have to wait and see. And just knowing that it's only like an hour away from me right now, man, it's like I feel the energy coming through my windows. You know what I mean? It's so close. It's bugging me out. I just want to go there and watch it, but way too expensive. So I think I'm going to wait for UFC Albany, which is right around the corner as well. Ted, what are you going to be doing UFC 205 as we end the show?
Oh, geez. I could get it here. I could go to, I don't know if there's a neighborhood party or if I'm going to go to Buffalo Wild Wings. It's kind of up in the air at this point. The weird thing is, I might not go to B-Dubs because, I would bring my kids, but it's going to be going on until 2 a.m. This is going to go longer. It's a 4-hour main card. Mm-hmm. Usually it's, 2.5?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to go to 4 hours, they're saying.
Well, there's 3 title fights, so.
Right. So they're going to, it's a long main, it's not going to seem long because it's going to be awesome. But it's a 6-fight main card with 3 title fights, like you said.
Every single fight on this card is amazing. I'm so happy that we were able to break it down all the way from the start. Ted, I want to thank you for coming on. I'm gonna be watching it here, man. I don't really I do enjoy going out, but I'm gonna be covering it for everyone. I can't do both.
All right.
Angie Jabs has to work, but don't worry, it's gonna be a 4-hour main card, so it's gonna be going till 3 a.m.
Till midnight. Oh well, she'll be back for for at least the last maybe 3 fights.
Yeah, you hope so. Just walking around half naked. I'm sorry you guys can't see that, but
you know what, Eddie? I gotta say it's great that Angie is a fan because my wife hates the sport. But so it's awesome that you guys enjoy the sport together.
Well, you want to hear something, Ted? She's having an affair with me with Nick Diaz.
What are you talking about?
She's talking with Nick Diaz behind my back. I talk about it on the podcast. They Snapchat with one another, and he asked her this week. He said, "Oh, how far away is Connecticut?"
Oh,
He's
man!
I'm not doing it behind your back. I'm telling you.
Oh,
I told her go for it. I said go for it. I said, because if Rhonda messaged me, I'm going to go hang out with her.
Well, look, if Angie can get you an interview with Nick Diaz, then it's all worth it.
I know. I was thinking about starting the hype up. I brought it up on the podcast. Thinking about hyping it up and calling him out on it, man.
Let's get him on this show.
I know. Angie said, no, let's not.
What? We can't interview Nick?
She's having an affair, man. There's something she don't want me to know. I'm just playing around. You're going to have to check out the whole story on the podcast, though. Ted, I had a great night breaking this down with you, brother. I want to thank all of our viewers that tuned in tonight. This will be up tonight for you. If you missed the beginning of the show, we discussed the weekly news. John Bones Jones. We discussed Habib being number one contender, maybe if he can beat Michael Johnson. But for now, Tony Ferguson is that number one contender. Also, we broke down this card in its entirety. So make sure you rewind it. Check out Pure Evil MMA Podcast. It will be up on Apple iTunes. It will be here on YouTube. So subscribe down below. I'm Evil Eddie from Pure Evil MMA. That guy up there. Who is that guy up there? Who is that?
Who is that guy?
Who is that guy? Who the fuck is that?
Who the fuck is that guy?
Who the fuck is that?
That's right, man.
Wait, who are you? Where can people find your stuff?
YouTube. TEDCZECH, the Czech Republic. Yeah, look me up.
All right, Ted, you have a great night, brother. We went pretty late tonight, almost 1 a.m. now. I got to check up on The Ultimate Fighter. I think this deserved to run a little late, though. It's a huge card, a huge show for us. And, Ted, thank God, and knock on wood, there were no big fights called off on this card.
Woo. Knock on wood. Yeah.
Well, we've seen changes within the last couple of hours, so you never know, but that's why we knocked on the wood. We have a new president coming into office. It's been a wild week, and it could be sealed off by one of the biggest events in UFC history. I'll be covering this event on my Twitter page, everybody, at Pure Evil MMA, on Facebook at Pure Evil MMA. Make sure you check it out. Check Ted's page out. He's always updating everybody on the recent news. It's short, quick, to the point. It's funny. He's always getting back with everybody on the comment boards. Make sure you check it out. And also, we do this every Wednesday night. Thanks for tuning into episode number 21 of Evil and Intoxicated. Have a great night.
Thanks,
Enjoy
everybody.
yourselves for UFC 205. New York, here we come, baby.
Can't wait.
Behave yourselves.
Eddie, we off the air?